What's up guys, this is Matt Dollar, PDGA number 26045 and team captain for Team MVP. And I want to do a little updated in the bag. And today we're going to start with the overstable drivers and work our way down to the mid-ranges and putters. So let's go. The first and possibly most important disc in my bag, I have two neutron phases. These are both bored flat. Like, I pick through to find the flattest ones available, just because with my thumber, I like to take the big pan movement right to left before it goes back left to right, and I feel like the flatter the better. I also use these for forehand and backhand, so it's one of the most versatile discs in my bag. Moving on down, we have two neutron dimensions. These both come in weighing between 170 and 174. This one is fresh with my new Ring of Dollars stamp. This is the one I've been throwing for a while. They're very overstable at low speeds. At high speeds, if you put them on a good angle, then they will fly before coming out. So if you have a lot of arm speed, then this disc is not going to be massively overstable for you. But if you have any less arm speed than me, it's going to be massively overstable for you. I find this just to be very overstable, but it's so fast that it just gets where it's going, and the dependability in the wind is second to none. So that's why it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, long-range driver. Next, we have two fission photons. This one comes in at 174 grams. This one comes in at 169 grams. This one is overstable, brand new with a Ring of Dollars, and I love it. It's just a little less stable than my dimensions, but if I get it out there on a little bit of anhyzer, it will hold very nicely before always finishing with a fade. Meanwhile, this photon has been in my bag for 3-ish months, and I've definitely seasoned it. I like to throw it backhand hyzer flip, but I also really like to throw it forehand hyzer flip. So this is the disc you'll probably see me throw the most forehands with. I definitely get the most distance out of this forehand than anything I have. Speaking of forehand, this is the other disc you'll see me forehand a fair bit, and it's the Neutron Wrath. Really flat, speed 9 driver, just super controllable with a dependable finish. I find the Neutron Wrath to be a little less stable than the Proton. I'm able to put a little bit of angle, it holds a nice turn, but then has a reliable fade at the end. The Proton is definitely more overstable, so if I throw it the same way, it's gonna just do a nice little S-flight. So I like the Neutron because it gives me a little more variety in the shots that I can use it for. I'll also throw this for thumbers every now and again when I don't need it to be super long and I don't need it to be super tight. It's just a nice, easy 200 foot, 250 foot thumber disc. So I will use that from time to time. Last two drivers in the bag are my understable drivers. First we have the Streamline Lift in the Cosmic Neutron plastic. This is a new disc in my bag and it is amazing. It's not as understable as the numbers quite make it out to be, I find. It really has a nice overstable finish at the end, as long as you don't put an extreme anhyzer on it. I haven't really tested it too much forehand, but it's really become a go-to fairway driver for me backhand. Now to complement the lift, I have this very beat up Plasma Insanity. I've been throwing this one for over a year, and it's very understable. Even for an Insanity, it's very understable. I believe this one actually weighs about 167 grams. So I really like this for rollers. If I'm ever forced into a situation where I have to throw a tomahawk, which I'm not a huge fan of, I throw lots of thumbers, but not tomahawks, I will throw this for tomahawks in the woods. I definitely know where it's gonna go, even though I don't get a lot of distance out of it. That's gonna conclude the drivers. We'll move to the mid-ranges. Starting with the most overstable, we've got the Neutron Deflector. So I threw the original Neutron Deflector that I received for over a year until I stuck it in a tree at the Santa Cruz Masters Cup on top of the world and never got it back. I put in this fresh Neutron Deflector and wow, I forgot how overstable this disc is. It is amazing. My home course has a lot of par 4s in the open, and I definitely like using this for all the approach shots because it's just so consistently overstable. So to complement that, I've got the new Pyro, and the Pyro is amazing as well. While it still has the very overstable finish like the Deflector, it's much more throwable. It kind of releases forward when I throw it, especially with a little anhyzer. So it'll release forward, work very nicely before finishing with a strong hyzer. I can definitely get about another 50 feet out of this over the deflector. Then you have my favorite mid-range, the Electron Vector. So I'm currently working 2 Electron Vectors. I've got this one that's been in the bag for probably close to a year. And then I've got this one, which is brand new. So this one is much less stable than this one. However, even the brand new ones, I find if I put a little anhyzer on it, it'll just hold that turn until the very end while it tries to flatten out. This one is beat up as it is. It's got a little bit of warp at this time, but I don't feel like it flies any worse because of it. And honestly, I'd like to beat it up even more and make it even more right turning. Because like I said, it's my favorite mid-range. I want to have as many varieties of that mid-range as possible. So Electron Vector, if you don't have one, I'd suggest getting one. It's basically my tunnel shot through the woods, or if I just have to believe that I have to hit this gap, this is what I'm throwing. So now I'm going to move on to my putters. If you followed me at all, then you know I am a huge fan of the Envy. So my throwing putters, I have blank Neutron Soft Envy. This one comes in at 171 grams, and it's pretty fresh to the bag. I just love the Neutron Envy. I'm able to throw it with hyzer, and it only moves on a left angle. However, if I throw it with anhyzer, it just works out the flat very nicely. I think it's one of the furthest flying putters of all time, and I think it's probably the most trusty putter I've ever thrown. Now I have a soft Cosmic Electron Envy. And this is a new addition to the bag as well. I mean, it's still just an Electron Soft Envy, although I feel it might have just a touch more stability in the Cosmic Neutron plastic. So I'm really liking this for upshots where I want to kind of hyzer flip to straight, because the Electron plastic is definitely less stable than the Neutron plastic. So this makes for a good stand up and straight shot, also for short approaches where I'm too close to throw the Vector. So last 2 putters in the bag are the putting putters, and they are both also Electron Envies. This is an Electron Soft Envy, and that's what I generally putt with. However, in the very warm summer months, sometimes I switch over to regular Electron because these just get a little too gummy for my hands. I feel like the regular Electron holding just a little bit more stiffness makes it glide a little better when it's really, really hot out. So I feel like these two complement each other a lot. If I have a little bit of wind I'm putting into, then I prefer this one because it won't lift as much, because it's used and kind of broken down. This one has held its shape great because it's brand new and a little bit stiffer, and so it has a little more lift. So if it's a longer putt, then I would prefer to use this. So I'm Matt Dollar, and I really appreciate you guys watching my In the Bag with Team MVP Disc Sports.
As we see, James Conrad pulling out in front of everyone right now. His 7 under through 10. Well, I'm going to say this now. If James Conrad makes this putt, James Conrad has won the tournament. There's not enough trouble for him to find in the last few holes. I feel like he can play it out relatively safely. If he converts on this putt, the MVP Open champion will in fact be James Conrad. That's my call. The door is wide open here. Paul McBeth could potentially pick up 2 strokes on James Conrad if he converts this putt. Oh my. We have a match here, folks. Paul McBeth with the birdie on hole 14. Listen to this crowd go nuts.
This is the Pro Tour.
Hey, I'm Nate Doss, and I'm playing the Pro Tour.
I'm playing the Pro Tour.
I'm Ricky Wysocki, and I'm playing the Pro Tour.
This is the Pro Tour.
I'm Paul Macbeth, and this is the Pro Tour.
I'm playing the Pro Tour.
I am Kale Aviska.
Dustin Keegan. I'm Big Germ, and this is the Pro Tour.
Say it better like you, say it more like you.
This is the Pro Tour.
I'm Sarah Hokom, and I'm playing the Pro Tour.
I'm Eric McCabe, and I'm playing the Pro Tour.
I am the Pro Tour.
I'm Will Schusternick, and this is the Pro Tour.
How's that cheese? Oh, this is gonna be good.
Morning, everybody, and welcome to a live disc golf coverage here of the 2019 MVP Open at Maple Hill. And back and better than ever, Val. Here we are. I'm Nate Doss. This is Valarie Jenkins, and we're excited to be here right in front of you for bringing back the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It's been a few weeks. We've had the World Championships happen, and we're excited to be looking down on this Maple Hill course.
Yeah, it was an exciting few weeks that were off. I know the whole disc golf world was following anxiously, see who was going to be crowned the next world champion. And, you know, that's always an exciting time for us as well. But the tournament at Maple Hill is one of those that caps off the end of the year. You know, you're getting toward the end of the season. The pressure and the stakes just continue to raise. Even though the World Championships, that's the crown jewel of our sport. That's what gets recognized by people that have never heard of disc golf. If you're a world champion at anything, you're going to be recognized. But for us within the sport of disc golf, winning this tournament is a big deal too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's it's being a world champion in disc golf is a little better than barrel rolling, but I think it's still a good thing. It's a beautiful day out there on the course, just perfectly blue skies, nice, crisp, cool mornings. I always remember going out and watching you play a few holes early on. And this course is just absolutely beautiful. One of the more difficult courses. I mean, even though we've seen some just absolutely incredible scores from the guys on the men's side, we've seen some amazing scores on the ladies' side, and there's a lot of parity in this course. And we see a different champion seemingly every single year, with Sarah Hokom in our group today being the champion from last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, but the 4 years prior to that, we heard a consistent name, and she is the current world champion. Paige Pierce was just dominating this tournament. So we are excited to see what Sarah Hokom can do. Paige Pierce is also on the card. We have MVP Disc Sports sponsored player Amanda Melwiki from Michigan. And we are on hole 1. Last but not least, Kristina Draeger, AM side champion from the Maple Hill Open. Just happened last weekend.
Yeah, and here we are, Val, on hole 1. Over 700 feet here, 720 feet. The ladies do play a shorter tee pad, making it a little bit of a shorter carry over the main lake there, but still not an easy shot. But the conditions as they stand right now, seemingly making the shot a little bit easier.
The wind is low, but it's still 360 feet to carry over the pond. You can see it's slightly downhill, but this is a tough shot. You got to make sure you got the right angle, and Sarah might be holding her breath, but clears it easily. And here we go, Amanda Melwiki from Matawan, Michigan.
Tell you, I'm looking forward to saying Melwiki all morning long. And that's a beautiful shot by her. Just gets over. She's going to be in an open landing zone there. You know, one of the things about this course, this is a tree farm. This is an active tree farm. It's a family farm. So avoiding landing near those little pine trees is key on some of these holes out here. Boy, and Kristina Draeger stepping up quickly. And she is going to be OB there. And we're going to come back to the booth. Or no, we're going to take a quick commercial. We'll be right back.
Zuka is now producing limited edition color choices. Zuka can add custom embroidery to the front and/or sides of the bag. Zuka is now producing limited edition color choices. Zuka can add custom embroidery to the front and/or sides of the bag.
Good morning, everyone, from Maple Hill. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, checking in with you guys. It is absolutely gorgeous out here. In fact, I was just talking to Alyssa Van Lannen a moment ago as we were watching the shadows roll throughout. Not a single cloud in the sky. We're looking at mid-70s right now. It's going to increase to about 81 or maybe 83 this afternoon. But right now, the winds are relatively low. They've picked up only in the last 15 to 20 minutes. We're expecting a great day of disc golf out here at Maple Hill. A little earlier when I saw Amanda as she was practicing and warming up, I said, "Are you ready? You ready to do this?" And somewhat timid and shy, she said, "Yeah, I think so." So we'll take that confidence and we're going to roll right here into the first round. We'll catch up with you guys in a few holes.
I don't know if that was the most confident statement, but I think so. I mean, at least it's down in there deep.
Well, you gotta admit. I mean, we haven't seen Amanda really at all ever before, so it's kind of cool to hear that statement from her because this is a new experience for her, and really, no matter what happens today, she's gonna take away this experience into her future playing of being a professional disc golfer, and so that's kind of I think maybe what we would expect. But thanks to T Dog for that. And as he said, what a beautiful day. I mean, what an absolutely beautiful day. While Terry was talking, we did see the third shot from Kristina as she was OB off the tee.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm looking at the player book right here. The pond is OB, re-tee at the drop zone with the stroke penalty. So maybe it was close, because otherwise she should have gone from the drop zone.
True.
If that was out of bounds.
Yeah, true. We'll come back here to Melwiki. I love that name. I do. Yeah, and as I was mentioning, I mean, this is an active tree farm. It's a family farm, actually. We've had the pleasure of being at Maple Hill for years and years and years, and when you are here, it does really feel like you're a part of the family. Hole 1 is what a great start to it.
And that's a nice shot from her there. I mean, where she landed just short of that opening, there's not much to look at. There's not a lot to aim at. So she had to pick a point in the sky, drop it in. She's going to have a nice look down it tightens up as it gets around the green, a little bit of an opening in a rock wall and heading in toward that thick brush. If you guys are disc golf fans, you know this hole. I'm sure you know this course just as good as we do. The same thing here. Sarah Hokom, she's going to have to pick a point. And I'm going to bet she's just going to lay up here. She's not in the prime position to actually go for the green.
Yeah, not at all. And actually, if you're not far enough down, it seems like really going for the green is almost a non-option. It really does tighten up down there, and we see Sarah's disc in the air. Oh, coming down perfectly. She actually might have a long jump putt at it, as we can turn here and see into the green area. A little shaded in there, but she's in perfect position. So nice shot there by our champion from last year, Sarah Hokom.
And I had to look back into the record books because I had sworn Hokom had taken down a few championships at Maple Hill, but the last time she won was actually in 2011.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, why do you remember that?
Because me and her jumped in the lake together as we were both the champions of the event. And I think that's something to be said too. As you play this first hole, you jump or you walk right by the place where only the champions get to jump in at the end of the weekend. And I think that's a really cool tradition at this event. And I can't remember who did it first. I believe it might have been you and your brother.
No, I wish I could claim that.
No, it wasn't the first time.
Kevin McCoy, I believe.
Kevin McCoy started the tradition.
So, I mean, I've been going to this tournament for a long, long time. And to date myself, it was right out of high school. So been coming to this course a long time, and as pond jumpers ourselves, we can attest that it's disgusting. But there's nothing better than jumping in a pond because you're a champion. And here's Paige coming in hot, flying over the OB wall out the back. She'll be taking it from where she was last in bounds there. And we pan over to the basket. It should be an easy putt, but from where Paige was, you got to go for it.
Yeah, it's so tough. A few years ago, they moved this pin deeper into the woods where we see it now, making it just so much more difficult to get all the way back to the basket. But Paige was in that position. She was far enough down to where going for it just almost seemed like what she absolutely had to do.
Yeah, that would have been a jump putt to the opening. And then, I mean, it's very hard to make that putt from the opening there. into the basket. So running for that was an option, but yeah, she was firing at the basket.
It's an interesting thing here at Maple Hill because of the difficulty of shots, specifically like the one we're looking at right here. How well the players prepare themselves on a course like this is just incredible. They're still able to be aggressive in these woods. We're going to see as we go through this whole round how many difficult wooded shots there are. And then, of course, the big open holes, too. It's just a beautiful course in that sense that it has really challenge at every level. There's a little baby turnover and playing that very nicely for Amanda.
Still a daunting shot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Especially as the first hole of this big tournament. You got to make sure you're on point right now. And when people ask me, and they're describing this course, I feel like every hole is its own battle. Some courses you scoot through the first 9 holes and that's what you're trying to attack. Clumps of holes at a time. But for this course, it's hole by hole. And you have to have your own personal strategy for each one of these holes. Are you going to go for it? Are you going to lay up? What's your disc choice? What happens when the wind picks up? What happens when you go OB? There's all these things that come into play. And I think playing this course year after year, your experience continues to build. And so players like Sarah Hokom and Paige Pierce, who have won this tournament a couple times over, they've got a great experience book to look back on.
Yeah, absolutely perfectly said. One of the things, really, Maple Hill feels almost like a major championship level course. In fact, I think you could hold a major here, a Worlds, really any event, and it would be one of the best places that these players could play because of that fact. It kind of has sort of a Rock Hill-esque feel to it where each and every hole is its own individual battle. And so I couldn't agree with you more on that. And it's one of those things when you come walking up the 18th fairway, as we'll be there in a few hours, just that feeling. Actually, it's not a feeling of relief until you're on the green on 18, but then that feeling of relief, like, okay, I made it through. That was Kristina Draeger. Now Paige is taking her mark. Paige Pierce, and now 5-time world champion. It's absolutely incredible.
And going into this tournament this weekend. Wow. There we go. As I'm about to say, this could be her shot at a 5-time Maple Hill champion as well. So, bam, right like that. She saves her par with a huge putt after going out of bounds. It's a statement right there. There we go, nice and easy for a par for Sarah.
Yeah, I think you put it best years ago when we were talking about this course. Pars are good out here at Maple Hill on this course. And so there is a par for Melwiki. Kristina tapping in there. So we'll take a shot. We'll take a look at the hole preview for hole number 2, Val. Here we come.
And here we are on hole 2. It's a par 3. Here's the tee right there that we're going to be throwing from. 270 feet is a blue tee to a gold basket if you're local. And I like this change up here. Previously, we were back another 50 feet on the long pad throwing at this hole. But I think shortening this tee up makes it way more attackable for the women. And so it was a tweener hole when it was a long tee, and now moving it up, the women are going to be able to attack it, get their birdies, We have the OB rock wall that comes into play on the right-hand side the entire way. There's a clump. It's kind of like a little bunker on that left-hand side right before the basket. And so you really have to weave your disc through those trees. So you're I was throwing an understable driver, but at the same time, you're risking that out of bounds on the right-hand side. So it's a very technical shot.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, with the rock wall and the tree, clump bunker, it really just feels so daunting. Even though the shot's really not that difficult, especially at just 270 feet. But boy, that rock wall on the right creeps in more than you'd think. And then, you're thinking, oh, well, with the tree bunker, you're only 50, 60 feet from the pin. But I mean, you can get in there and just be totally stymied. So it's not as easy as it seems. But yeah, I think you're right. With moving the tee up to this kind of top of the hill, if you will, it just makes the visual that much easier.
Yeah. And what you can't see in the course map is that little bit of a gully. So the basket is on a little bit of an upslope, extending that distance just enough to make it a little bit more tricky. There's Terry just hanging out with the crowd, just blending in there as much as Terry can. But it is awesome to have the addition of Terry on the course, letting us know what the elements are, what the wind feels like, how the tension is in the group, or hopefully this
or lack thereof.
Hopefully
Yeah.
this morning it's nice and easy going. But here's Paige Pierce on the tee.
And there's that rock wall potentially creeping in. Oh, and I think we saw it creep, just barely creep back in. It might have taken a nice kick off the top of the rocks. But there you go. You see it. Because of the way the shot really plays, it requires a turnover, really. You could play a safe kind of straight shot, but that turnover brings that rock wall in every single time. It's a very, very difficult shot here. And Sarah's got a sidearm. Let's say really from a sidearms perspective, it's... Oh, and she played that very nicely. She really took the proper line with a sidearm, taking a little bit more of an aggressively straight line. Really like that there by Sarah.
And as we've seen from the 3 drives right there, they're throwing understable discs. They're trying to avoid that tree bunker on the left.
Kristina just playing it off to the left. She's going to be behind that bunker. We will take a quick commercial break and be back with you in the fairway.
What do you think flatness and stiffness on this?
Somewhat flat, neutral stiffness. This is a good disc right here.
Got it. 2 more.
Danny, this is a sick one.
Dude, I gotta get through all these today.
Cheers to a good day, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's a hard day.
It's great.
And back with Kristina Draeger. She's in a real tough position here. So here's the best view of that bunker that we can get. I mean, thankfully she was just short of that, so she did have the shot to go around, but hangs up on some tree branches. But she'll have another open look at the basket, get herself a bogey at this point. But that bunker is something you just do not want to mess with. I've landed there in previous years, and it's almost impossible to get out. The trees are just so tight. So only option is to go around.
Yeah, and she was directly behind, like she was all the way behind it. Sometimes, it's can be easier. You get into it a little bit, you might be able to find a gap. But man, yeah, she was just in a tough position there. Yeah, and you can see from that angle, it's really about maybe a 15 or 20 foot rise from down at the bottom of a little creek bed there. Now we'll see Paige Pierce. They're definitely makeable putts because it's uphill. You can just give it all you really want and not worry about going too far past.
My goodness, Paige Pierce.
And here we are with the Zuka replay. Look at that. Oh, and wow, high left, and it just kind of sucked right into the basket there. What an incredible putt by, again, a 5-time world champion, Paige Pierce, just sort of showing.
Good morning.
Yeah, what a start to the day. Great putt on one, great putt on two. So seemingly Paige Pierce's putter is feeling hot.
Oh, and Kristina trying to follow it up there. She's well outside the circle as we caught a red flag at the 10-meter mark. And here's Sarah Hokom, CTP of the group. Nothing.
Yeah,
Not
just
a
on the
change.
left side. Yeah, just a left side miss there for Sarah. And there's a tap in for her par. No harm, no foul at the end of the day, but boy, you really hate to miss putts like that, especially when Paige Pierce just canned a 45-footer going up the hill. But it's so early on for Sarah. She just got to try to wrangle that in. And there's Kristina. Let's see. Amanda stepped in here for her tap in. Now 2 holes in the books with Paige Pierce carding the birdie there. And we'll move over to hole 3 and take a look at hole 3.
Hole 3, par 3, 325 feet. And this is when it really gets technical. We're getting into the woods here. Starts off with a slight anhyzer. This is one of the pure S shots as it makes its way back left to the basket. One of the more fun wooded shots to throw. One of the more fun wooded shots to pure. This hole is just awesome. If you have the right disc in your hand, you can really work these angles. And I think that's what it's really all about. But at the same time, when we step back to look at the tee shot, I mean, you're going right into this very tight gap right off the bat. And if you hit one of those trees at the beginning, you're in trouble. You're just fighting your way all the way up to the basket. So the drive on this hole is extremely important.
Really, with a course like Maple Hill, as well as a place like Milo MacGyver out here in Oregon, the top level players are able to throw full speed driver shots through these wooded holes, and that's really just, it shows their ability. Paige pulled it just a little bit to the right and looks as if it kicked sort of left off one of those right-hand trees. But it's so hard at this time of day with all the shadows to grasp really what's happening.
So for me, I remember throwing an understable disc, a very understable disc at a slight hyzer. So I'm working the hyzer line to the flip up because it's a late flip up. You can't just start off the tee with a turnover. That's too tight of an angle. So you really have to let the disc do the work. And you see Sarah Hokom working the sidearm. but is going to finish off to the right, have a good look up the fairway.
Yeah, that right side's pretty thin, actually, from her angle, so it should be okay over there. So she got through that main gap. And yes, you're right. A kind of a semi-straight, like just that release we just saw was almost perfect. Oh, and she threw that beautifully. Yeah, you saw how she released it with that hyzer, flipped up just as you said, Val. A little bit too much turn on that. But it got through, and we get a little cheer from the crowd. We'll take a quick break and see you in the fairway. And we're back here with Kristina Draeger. You can see where her drive landed there. She's going to have a look just up through those kind of goalpost trees right in front of her, right up to the pin. This is an uphill shot up to a little plateau, and it rounds off all the way around the basket.
This is really interesting to watch. You know, we've never seen Kristina play. She won the AM side here at Maple Hill. And so to see her strategy and how she accomplished that, I mean, off the tee, standstill shots in the middle of the fairway, even with the longer throws. I mean, she's a standstill thrower. And that really, if your accuracy isn't on, bringing it back to standing still can really help. So advanced players, amateur players out there, learning those more accurate shots can really pay off. And clearly we've got a champion out of Kristina from these standstill shots. And here's Sarah Hokom making her way up to the basket. And there we go. Right outside the 33-foot flag.
Well, and that's not a great shot there by Sarah. Just a little bit too much heat. And as I said, this kind of comes up to a higher plateau, but it's sort of a rounded kind of top of the hill. And if you have just a little bit too much heat running off in either direction, you can really slide away. And now Sarah's put herself in a position to have to make, you know, a 32-foot putt-ish. And, you know, we saw her just miss an 18-footer on the last hole. So we'll see how she's feeling there. Here's the best drive of the bunch. Ooh, and picking up a dot there. Almost made that just off the front rim. Great effort there by Amanda. And now we'll see Sarah kind of walk up and over the hill. Well, I'm not sure if it's going to be Kristina or Sarah here at this point. Let's see who's out. I'm always so impressed and what's the other word I'm looking for? Just I would love to own this piece of property, I guess is what I'm saying. A little bit jealous. Yeah, a little bit jealous. Man, what a beautiful place. What a beautiful piece of property. This family owning this property for 100 years, I believe. Yeah, Sarah just missing that on the front of the cage. Better effort than on the last hole, so that's a good sign for her there at least, although unfortunately that is going to be a bogey. Here's Kristina.
Woo!
Ooh.
Hanging in on the left-hand side. That kind of surprised her as well. Surprised us here in the booth. And there's Paige dropping in her par.
There's the tap in by Sarah, and there'll be just one more by Amanda. There's that. And we will move over to the downhill fourth.
We're heading our way down hole 4, par 3, 250 feet. There's a lot of ways to get to this basket, but it's extremely downhill. Clearly, lots of trees that come into your way. And beyond the basket, there's that keen wall heading right into the lake. So if you put a little bit of too much heat on that, it's flying out of bounds. It's always a tricky one. I mean, this is a good chance for those standstill tee shots. You're going to see these players disking down, throwing their putters, and standstill tee shots is the way to go on this.
You're absolutely right. It's 250 feet. I swear it plays about 125 feet. We see the big MVP Sports, again, our presenting sponsor here, sign there on the right. That actually was a part of a possible fairway for our players to take. And Steve and the tournament staff putting in a mandatory on this fourth hole, not forcing the players to go down the middle. So for a player like Sarah Hokom, who throws a sidearm, that creates a big challenge here because she would normally have taken that route.
She would, yeah. She would take that extreme route and work the disc down. Now it's giving everybody kind of that same opportunity, that same chance right up the gut.
Yeah, and it's just a putter or a very, very light mid-range. Oh, and she's hit the first tree, kick to the left. Unfortunately, I've done that myself a couple of times. It's tight. It's really, really tight. And now we'll see what Sarah is able to sort of kind of come up with here. I mean, this is a tough shot for a sidearm. I'm imagining this is going to be an extremely understable disc, especially looking at that angle she's got it at. Well, it gives it a lot of heat. Oh, and takes a beautiful kick. Kicks her down pin high. A nice kick there for Sarah Hokom. We'll take a quick break and see you on the green. Nice little Anheuser down there. Is it? Oh, and it's gotten off that tree and down in there. And look at this immediate recovery of the Frisbee potentially here by our swimming man. His name is escaping me right now, but yeah, he's a guy that's willing to brave the ponds at Maple Hill. There's snakes, leeches, all kinds of stuff in these ponds, but boy, I've been thankful for him many times as he's able to get a few of my discs out of this water.
That's incredible. He's usually here, then he's waiting on, hole 5 coming
Yeah, very
up
next
for
hole.
sure.
Yep.
Then on hole 8, that
Yeah.
is where you're going to see him spending most of his time throughout the weekend. If you've ever seen that beautiful shot of the rainbow layer upon layer of disc up at the Tournament Central, that's all because of him. Scuba Steve, right? Shout out to Scuba Steve.
Yeah, we'll call he's Scuba Steve. Boy, and Amanda has found some deep thickness here. She's just able to kind of whip out a sidearm. She's down there. She's going to have a look at par. But boy, you get off the fairway on this one. Yeah, I've been over on that side too. It's just like a lot of low little bushes and things to try to avoid. Scuba Mark. We're going to call him Scuba Mark there, Val. We got a shout out from the board hearing that his name is Mark. So big thanks to Mark. And I just, that's like, he was right on top of that. That was incredible. He was right there.
He's my Maple Hill MVP.
Yeah.
MVP
Nice.
Mark.
Nice.
You know, Paige has eye of the tiger right now. She's going for this putt. Incredible. I mean, there's so much confidence in that putting stroke right now. She's got her eye on the target. It's a different Paige Pierce putt. I mean, I guess that's what a 5-time world champion putter looks like. Different.
Oh, and just a little bit short there by Amanda. And while we have a second here, we just want to throw a big shout out to the Professional Disc Golf Association for their support of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. The PDGA has come off back-to-back weekends with the World Championships and then the event at Iron Hill last weekend. So big thanks to the PDGA for all of their support. And we have to say, I mean, if Paige Pierce is going to putt like this, wow, you know, it's like any great player playing at their absolute best. It's gonna be tough for the other competitors to keep up. But you know, we've only played 4 holes at this point. She's made 3 good putts.
And it's a huge advantage out here. There's so much trouble that you can get into, but it's all about scrambling. It's all about hitting huge putts like that to save yourself and to get that competitive edge over your competitors. So she's clearly on a great stroke right now.
Yeah, and that World Championship run by Paige was just absolutely incredible. Really, for the history books for sure. Under incredible. That should be just a video of that World Championship. That was so much fun to watch and probably gave her a big confidence boost. In fact, she took last weekend off. Now she was actually still in Iron Hill working on a different skill that she seems to be pretty passionate about, taking photos. Oh, and Sarah just sneaking out on the right side. But yeah, taking photos for the weekend. So she's had a weekend off, feeling re-energized and certainly looking like it here in the very early going. So Sarah, unable to take advantage of a little bit of good fortune coming down the hill. She's going to take a par. And this will be Amanda for a bogey. Unfortunately, she got caught up early. And then for Kristina, after going out of bounds, we're looking at one of those unfortunate others. But there we are. Let's move over to hole 5. Let's take a look here, Val.
Hole 5, par 3, 285 feet, and it is showing you the water route right now. It's going to be interesting to see which players take this route. You have to leave it high, get the perfect angle, carry over that last wall at the very end if you want to park the basket. But obviously, there's no trees in your way going this route. I would prefer the route into the trees, a little bit safer. Because if you do go out of bounds here, you're going to be taking it from the drop zone. Another shot you would have to do over the water. You're kind of forced to do that from the drop zone. But yeah, I like in the trees, so I'm expecting to see a few of the players going that route as well. Here we go. The leaderboard is up, and Paige is off to this great start, but we see Kristen Tatar right there, one stroke behind her, so she's shooting very well in this morning's round. And here we go. See Paige lining up already.
In my mind, I think watching Paige Pierce take that angle, she hit early. I think it tells you everything you need to know about this hole. She does not feel comfortable throwing a sidearm out over the water, or for that matter, throwing a turnover over the water. And, you know, on the guys' side of things, I feel like for the most part, 99% of the guys are forced to go over the water, good, bad, or the other. But, you know, on the ladies' side, I think there's a little bit more technical aspect potential to it. Oh my goodness, what an incredible shot there by Sarah Hokom, almost getting a hole-in-one. Just a little bit short. She's going to have a birdie opportunity. She's already missed a couple this round. That's what an incredible shot by Sarah. Huge advantage to have that powerful sidearm on this hole. Oh, and just butters that thing. What a beautiful, that's perfect on that line.
Great shot. So the shot here they're trying to throw, and you got to make sure you're carrying it enough, but you're throwing an overstable disc and trying to work your way through that gap, through that opening, and give yourself a good look for an upshot. We are off and running, and we will catch back up with them in a few minutes.
Hey everyone, as you may know, I'm an ambassador for the Next Generation Disc Golf Tour.
Really?
And with being an ambassador, I kind of have some insider knowledge on what's new this year. So first, let me share a quote from one of the tour co-founders, David Felberg. Part of Next Gen's mission is to help bridge our top amateurs into professional ranks. We take that vision another step this year. Another step. First, new location, Austin, Texas.
A pro invitational for amateurs. In Texas, unbelievable.
November 8th through 10th is where the national championship will be held. Second, new format, which is 3 divisions, MA1, FA1, and MM40.
What? $3,000 for first place in Advanced Masters? That's more than what the pros make.
$2,500 for the women? That's like 500 pedicures.
And I think the biggest news of all is $50,000 cash payout.
$50,000? No, I'm talking $100,000. $50,000 for payout and $50,000 for merchandise.
You can see Paige kicked off to the right. She's got a super techie shot. I think all from the view from behind, she told us everything we needed to know. I mean, look at how many trees were between her and the basket. She's made it a fair way through. She's going to have a long look at par. Also with the elevated basket here, potentially going over that keen wall and bringing in that lake. Now, this basket, along with a few others along this lake, this winter were, in my opinion, made famous by Simon Lizotte, who actually was ice skating out on this and making shots into these baskets while ice skating. Does that tell you everything you need to know about this kid? I mean, seriously, that was fun to watch.
He was so graceful on those skates, too. Like, he's long, lengthy, but he's just such an athlete. Everything.
Pretty much.
And he was making shot after shot, and we know how all trick shot videos are. It's always made on the very first shot. So definitely not. He was so impressive, but Simon always impressive. Here's this nice shot from Amanda. Still a tricky little upshot because there's this wall of trees, but makes her way through there. Nice little tap in right there for her par. And as we saw, like a majority of this group went the wooded route, and we were just talking in the break, not too many women that are going that over the water shot. You know, Sarah Hokom's going to do it with that great sidearm.
Yeah.
Katrina Allen as well. She throws over the water a turnover shot. We see on UDisc Live that Kristen Tatar also went, I would expect. She got a birdie on this one, so I expect that she also went over the water.
Yeah, and actually, Kristina Draeger went over the water as well. So she threw a pretty tight turnover, able to bring it back in bounds. The rules really state that you have to land inbounds on this hole to move forward. Even if you cross inbounds, that doesn't matter. You go to the drop zone. I think it kind of tells you everything you need to know that Paige Pierce is willing to potentially take a bogey instead of even, having to go over the water. So
right.
The putt. And there you go.
There's a putt and it's in. That's
Yeah.
Paige Pierce on fire today. Killing it.
Killing it. Yeah. What an incredible run of putts. Here's Sarah. This is a tough little stance. The roots of this tree go into effect. I would still expect that this one is going to be in for Sarah. And it is.
There we go. Nice little confidence boost for her. For her, that's not a risky shot over the water. That's just what she's got to do.
There's Kristina able to take a par on this difficult. Oh, I guess that was a bogey. Well, I miss these things. I apologize to everybody back home. And there we are having the tap in from Amanda. And that's a 3 for her. And we will move up the hill. Oh, we're going to see Terry. There's Terry.
Through 5 holes here during the opening round, and 2 very different tales going on out here. Quite a contrast, in fact. Kristina, it's her first ever pro tournament. She went out here a few weeks ago, or just last weekend, for the amateur side. She told Paige Pierce, she said, this is terrifying. So wish her some good luck, give her some good vibes out there. Paige, on the other hand, very calm, very relaxed. You see her able to scramble here on hole number 5. On hole number 1, as she was walking from 1 to 2, she said, there's one stat that I lead everyone on in UDisc. She said, the men, the women, it doesn't matter. And she was talking to her caddy, and she said, you know what that stat is? Out of bounds. She said she throws out of bounds more than anyone else out here, and she said every time that she throws OB, she thinks, oh, there's another one for the stats. So she's definitely keeping it real, watching UDisc Live, knowing what's going on out there thanks to UDisc. We hope that you guys are, of course, following along there as well. But Paige still has a smile on her face, playing very well. A couple of outside the circle putts, which she also made note of. Obviously, her confidence is up. Another great putt here to save the par. We're going to head over to the daunting hole number 6. We'll check in with you guys a little later.
Yeah, big thanks to Terry, the disc golf guy, who the disc golf guy never blends in. He's got the big red shirt on today. There was a putt there by Katrina Allen. And, it's interesting. Kristina Draeger saying that to Paige Pierce. I mean, I think both you and I have been in that position before. I can remember back to my very first, I think, tournament more than anything. Not so much my first pro tournament, but first tournament, just nervous as all get out. So it's kind of interesting to hear Kristina's perspective on that.
It has to be terrifying. I mean, this is the big stage. She's in her home state from Ayer, Massachusetts. So she is a home state girl. And so everybody, I'm sure, is rooting for her today as they basically just throw her up on the pedestal with the wolves. Sarah Hokom, first on the tee with that birdie. Talk about technical. Hole 6 is the epitome of it. 320 feet. Rock wall out of bounds. If you go over it on the right-hand side, The lake also comes into play on the left-hand side, basically where a nice upshot would be landing. So players just want to get it right down the gap and land nice and flat and straight, no skipping.
Oh, and Paige has played that absolutely perfectly, just sliding it into the left-hand side of the green area. She's still going to be short of the green, but and really she'll have a pretty technical shot coming up, but it's nice and safe and has made it through. I think that for an amateur player, this is one of those holes that when you step up and watch some of the shots, and it couldn't tell if that went over the rock wall or stayed just short of it. When you see these pro players play these shots, you're like, how in the world are they able to do this? It's incredible.
And this tee shot is terrifying to me, Kristina. So don't even worry about it. She's short off the tee on the left-hand side. She might be fighting her way unless she decides to pitch out, which would be the smartest play.
So not only did Kristina win the amateur side of things, but also that tournament is played on a few courses actually in the area. So she was really, the champion of not just this course. It was, a culmination of courses for the amateur side of the event. And so she probably, while you did say she's a local, she might not be super familiar with these tee pads or this layout.
And pitch out shots here are still very tricky, wouldn't you say? I mean, you feel like you're laying out into the middle of the fairway, but giving yourself the right angle that you're going to be throwing at all the way down this pipeline to the basket can be very tricky. For me, I would like to lay on the left-hand side of the fairway. And here she is. So, I mean, still not in the clear yet. Still about 200 feet to the basket. And we can see it there looking very small in the distance.
Yeah, I had a disc that I could throw on this hole perfectly, and I had gotten birdies with it. And then one other tournament, like in a whole other part of the country, I lost it, and I said, "Oh my God, what am I going to throw on hole 6 at Maple Hill?" I mean, I swear that this hole sticks in your mind like that. It is serious.
And Kristina, we saw her fly over the rock wall, but gaining some more distance toward the basket. So she's probably right around that larger tree on the left side of our screen right now. She's getting closer, and that's the main thing here. Keep gaining distance. Yeah, it seems the more you hit the trees, the less distance you're gaining down these longer fairways. And so she's out of bounds, but working her way closer to the basket. And here we have Amanda. According to UDisc Live, she was out of bounds, so she's throwing 2 right now. And a very beautiful upshot right there. You gotta go for it. It's a tricky shot. She didn't seem to put a lot of thought into it, knew what she had to do, and she executed it perfectly. Wow. It's a bonus. I mean, it's a par 3, 320 feet on paper. Seems like it's just a breeze.
Yeah.
It is such a difficult hole. We can't even explain it. You got to get out there and play Maple Hill if you want to experience this for yourself.
It is absolutely one of those types of courses that if you're in the area, you got to go. Yeah, it's one of those places. This special place had so many great championships now played on it. It's really just one of the premier courses in the United States. And on the tour, it's one that I don't think a lot of the tour players would be willing to miss.
It's like coming home. You know,
Yeah.
you're on the family tree farm. You're seeing the family volunteering every step of the way of the tournament. You're seeing players and locals that are now becoming extended parts of the family, and everybody just comes together as a reunion. And that's just the kind of environment that the Maple Hill Open represents each and every year. People are camping out on the property, staying with close locals. It's just a warm environment for the disc golf world. So go there and you can change your last name to Dodge.
Boy, good little upshot there by Paige Pierce. It is such a family thing. I'm seeing the spotters every year. It's just, you know, everything about it is a great experience. And really from a spectator's point of view, it's great as well. I mean, you know, obviously it's very wooded, but it's a good spectator experience also. Let me see Sarah.
And I hear it so often, you know, when people watch these videos, it's amazing that the disc golf world brings these videos from pretty much every tournament these days to the world. But when you actually get to go step on that course in person, that's another story. See the shots that you've been watching on your TV screen or your computer screen at work, Sally West, but actually going to the course and playing it and seeing these shots that these professional players are able to execute is just kind of mind-blowing.
Boy, good view there from directly behind the basket. And a nice putt there for Kristina. Even though that's going to be a big number for her on this hole, that was a good finish to the hole and should give her just, if at all, a little bit of good feeling coming out of that one. And 7's no easy hole coming up next. So any good vibes you can have is a good thing. Boy, and another beautiful putt there by Amanda, making that look pretty easy.
Yeah, that was a 25-foot putt, looking just so graceful and so smooth on that putt. And there's Paige with the drop in. Wow, they really made that hole look very easy.
Yeah, Hokom and Pierce both made it seem very, very easy. And hole 6 is in the books. Let's go over and take a look at hole 7.
Hole 7, 275 feet, a little bit of an elevation gain here as we work our way. You're throwing up a road. You can see the tire tracks. So it's very tightly wooded. And there is our basket on the left. This shot will continue on to the men's basket just a little bit farther. We have played that hole in the past, but shortening this up makes the field a little bit more competitive, allows the players to park this basket, unlike playing for your par or your bogey on this longer basket here. So another good change up. And I feel like this staff here, they're constantly making course changes to make the course more competitive. Back in the day, women were always striving to play from the longest tee, to play the longest basket. And in the end, you know, you kind of have to compromise. Courses are getting just so much more difficult that we do have to alter our game plan. And so shortening this basket here just makes it more fun and more competitive and tightens the field for the women's division. And, you know, Paige Pierce might say something different about that because she does have that amazing distance and that strong arm. But at Maple Hill, they change it up every year. They look at the scores, they check out the stats, and they make the course more competitive because they want to see that tight race toward the finish. So I think it's a good change up. Every year it's going to be different.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see 4 players there at even or better, and a few players just barely over par. So, as you said, that the field is definitely tightened up a little bit here with a lot of these changes. Probably been 4 or 5 years now that these changes have really been in place, roughly, and I think it's been a good thing. We've still seen Paige Pierce win 4 of these championships. Of course, she's a great player. I don't think that says anything about that specifically, but yeah, I like the change. I think pace of play helps as well. It's a similar round length for a lot of the groups throughout the event for men and women. So we do have both of those divisions playing on one course. Ooh, Paige just pulling it to the right, but getting through very nicely. And that's kind of the thing you got to do here. You got to just barely miss trees by just a few feet or a few inches in some cases. And Paige has done that perfectly.
This is the landing zone. If you were going for that long basket, this drive, if you park this basket right now, this is a perfect drive for the long basket. Takes a lot to get through those trees, and getting hung up on the left side there. That's part of the course.
Yeah, definitely. If you were standing on the first tee here at Maple Hill and you were thinking you weren't going to have to throw out of the woods, then you could just get in your car and drive away, because you're going to play in the woods here. It's just a part of the game. And now we have all 4 drives on hole 7. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with you. And we are back here on hole 7. Hole 7 is sponsored by Savage Ultimate. So big thanks to Savage Ultimate for their sponsorship here of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Nice little upshot there by Kristina Draeger. And so that'll be a nice par for her. And you were right, though. During the whole preview, this is a road. We're playing up a road. And it's not really a road that cars drive up. It's more ones that like golf carts and gators drive up. I mean, it is tight. And so really just the ability for these players to work through this road is just amazing. And then you got to think about the ground play too. There's a lot of ground play that happens on this hole because there's a lot of uneven sort of surfaces and a lot of roots from all the maple trees and things like that out here. So yeah, it's a super tough hole. But I think that's why you see some really smoking hot scores out on this course too, because if you get through, I mean, these holes are gettable. If you hit early, all of a sudden bogeys come in to play. Sarah with a long look, and she's safely nestled right up next to the basket.
Hasn't really been able to capitalize on getting her putting stroke going just yet, but giving it a good run. But she is really far outside. But when you've got an open opportunity at a putt, you have to go for it out here. You got to take the chances and the opportunities when they're given to you.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Sarah's scorecard to this point. I think she's doing okay. This is kind of her game, really. Just get pars. And there's Paige Pierce's game, which is make putts and get birdies. But as she mentioned, and as Terry mentioned, she leads the tour. Everybody that's played on tour, and probably all of the UDisc Live stats, and out of bounds. And that's an interesting thing for herself to bring up. her caddy while she's playing it around with Obi on that very next hole. So, you know, Paige does get herself in, you know, scary positions every once in a while. And she's probably also number one in saves, scrambling too. So there we are. Sarah Hokom with her par.
And right now, Sarah's sitting at even. I mean, looking at the scorecard, doesn't look so bad, but it is that putting stroke that might be coming into that mental side of her game. But we are on to hole 8, par 3, 250 feet. The shorter tee is off to the right-hand side, so it's not as daunting as this shot is making it out to be, but you still have to clear water the entire way. It is about 240 feet to clear that water. Some people hang it off a little bit to the right-hand side. You can get caught up in the trees, fall in the water out of bounds. But OB water, and then past the basket, there is a wall behind the green. You can see it right there. That is out of bounds as well. If you're out of bounds in the water, you go to the drop zone. If you go out of bounds past the basket, you take it from where the shot went out. So the play here is make sure your shot lands dry so you can give yourself an opportunity to save par.
Yeah, great point. Because if you do go OB, you end up at the drop zone, and the drop zone's really more of just a pitch. There's not. I've seen people make it from the drop zone, but it's not like it's going to happen all that often. And while at the end of the day, if there was no water, this would be a basic shot for most of the top level players. But because that water is there, oh, and Paige just sneaks through on the right. She's going to have a very short putt for birdie, getting extremely lucky. Rich keep getting richer on this one. Big thanks to Gatekeeper Media for the flyovers of this tournament here. They did all of the drone footage for the MVP Open. So big thanks to Gatekeeper. And here's Sarah Hokom. Love the sidearm angle on this one. It's a little bit more open on that side. And she's got it inbounds and safe. A longer putt, though.
And this one can be especially tricky when the wind picks up, but we're here. It's 10 a.m. there at Maple Hill, and it barely a breath of wind. Gets the claps.
Yep.
She's
Crowd
nice and
liked it.
safe. Yep. That's all you want. Doesn't have to be pretty, but landing safe is the key. And a standstill crushing shot and just short. We will catch up with Kristina as she takes her next shot from the drop zone.
I can throw this disc around the world in one shot.
Never play disc golf too far into the jungle. There may be cheetahs.
Someone on your card can't recall if they threw a 6 or a 7. It was probably an 8.
See? Stay getting birdies, my friends.
Tee shots here on hole number 8. A few moments ago, I caught up with Steve Holloway of MVP. He's on the bag for Amanda, and we were talking about Kristina's nerves, possibly. This is Amanda's first time ever on any type of coverage, he tells us. I said, well, how do you feel like she's handling it? And he said, well, she's clearly playing well. She had a game plan, and she's been sticking to it. He says she's got a very bright future ahead of her if she wants it. Looks like things are going pretty well for her. Another quick note, I saw Paige Pierce a moment ago. After Amanda had thrown, she said, wow, and she gave Amanda a high five and is very impressed with her play out here. So the women seem to have good spirits about them. We're going to move on to the green of hole number 8. We'll check in with you a little later.
And didn't I just mention it was like you can barely see the leaves blowing from our view, but it's great to have Terry there live and in person. That's the key element here, showing us what it's actually like there on the course. And it seems like the wind's picking up. You can hear it in his microphone. We can now see the trees blowing. Even the water's moving now.
Yeah, And really, right around these ponds is, and especially right here, where actually this pond, right where they're walking over, right in that area, that feeds into the next pond that we see a little bit later in the course. But there's always a lot of wind just swirling right around here because it's open. There's not a lot of trees, and that's one thing too. It's, you know, you're in the woods, and so there's not a lot of wind, and then you get out into these open, and then boom, there's a ton of wind, and so there's a little bit of back and forth. It's hard to kind of get into a flow. That's probably one of the really the genius aspects of this course and just Mother Nature, but the ability that you're always kind of on your, you know, you're always guessing. You're always sort of what's the wind doing out there over the water, you know, when you got to throw over the water. So yeah, it's just another reason why this course is as difficult as it is.
Putt here for Hokom. See if she can get that hyzer swoop on into the basket.
Wow. Incredible putt there by Sarah Hokom. Almost falling. I mean, jump putting, kind of tripping on the roots and rocks down there. But man, what an incredible putt by Sarah. Big, maybe potential confidence boost for her moving forward.
Yeah, that was big. In my view, it looked like it was going to land short, but because of that downhill putt, was able to carry into the basket, right into the heart. That is what she needed to get that putting stroke on point. And that's an exciting birdie right there. That's a great birdie to get. Not the easiest one on the course, but with a big putt like that, that's well deserved.
Yeah, and a good insight by Terry about Amanda. As he said, this is her first time on any type of coverage, and again, it's the first time for us to see her playing as well. Really, you know, because I mean, at this point, we kind of live and die by the coverage, and so do everybody at home. And oh, she's able to just sneak it in on the right. But I think she's been doing really nicely so far. For this being her first time, she seems very calm and sort of, you know, somewhat confident in her game.
Yeah, she's got a great overall game from what we've seen so far. Great putting, really nice smooth drives. So she's got all the elements, and there's a reason she's a sponsored player by MVP. And there's Paige tapping in, easy birdie, taking a knee. I mean, Paige is already shorter in stature, but taking a knee to get herself even with the basket as it sits a little bit low on this position. And there we go. Not too much trouble. We've got one disc in the water this time. Well, we know Mark will be there in just a few minutes to help Kristina out, but maybe our caddy's going to go fishing as well. We will head over to hole 9. This is a fun one. I mean, starts off with an immediate uphill shot. This is a par 4, 420 feet. Lots of elevation changes on this one. So we're cresting over the hill here, and we're going to see a lot of drives trickling over the hill. You're landing in this position right here. You're looking straight at the basket. Great position to go for the green. Or if you're laying up for a little bit, your drive lands a little bit short and higher on the hill, you're probably going to lay up to the lower end and then pitch up to the green. You can see the lake coming into play again there, right around the basket on the right-hand side. There is a canal that runs in front of the basket as well, almost creating this island kind of green, but the bridge is out of bounds, that canal is out of bounds, and of course the water as well. But lots of elements: elevation, trees, water, trees. Did I mention trees? This is a very tricky hole.
Yeah, there's trees on this one too, so it makes it
wind.
tough.
I forgot wind.
Yeah,
and then trees.
Yeah, it and you know, hole 9 is definitely one of these holes, and there's, you know, a half a dozen of them seemingly on this course where if you can get through the first part of the fairway pretty clean, you're going to have a look down at the green. But the problem lies hitting early, getting stuck, pitching out, then you're not to the top of the hill yet, then it's blind. Because really, you got to peak the top of this hill if you want any chance of going at that green. If you don't have a look at the green, it's just a layup down to the the bulk of the fairway down there, about 80, 100 feet short of the basket.
Right. So it's a complicated hole, but in the end, it could just, this is all you have in front of you. This is all that can be done. But the trickiest part, I think, is off the tee. I mean, you're looking straight at a hill right in front of you.
Mhm.
So you're trying to throw a straight shot up, get it through the tunnel of trees in front of you. And so throwing uphill, but then trying to get your disc to fly flat and fly down. It's, again, trusting your disc, pulling out something that's understable so that you're able to work those angles and get the disc to carry. Those are the key elements here to get yourself in good position. And we're going to catch up with the second card here.
Yeah, we've now officially caught up through the rest of the field. They had 15-minute tee times going off of one, so we had a pretty smooth sailing through the first 8 holes, and now we've caught up just a little bit. But so far, so good as far as the flow of the round has been going. And now this is just a beautiful view from the top of the hill. You can see that big grassy area. It's where if you don't creep the top of the hill, that's kind of where you're going to end up on your second shot, if you're lucky, is down in the middle there, and then it's just a pitch over there. They moved this basket just a few feet to the right and elevated it. And so look what's to the right of that basket, a big pond. And you punt right at it if you end up on the left side, which is where you're going to end up for the most part. Oh, and what a nice upshot there. Actually couldn't tell who that was. Oh, that was Christine. Sorry, say it. You know her name.
Tatar.
There we go. Tatar. I gotta get the flow. Kristen Tatar. There we go. That was a beautiful upshot by Kristen.
Interesting basket change, though. As you mentioned, I'm looking at the green as we watch the second card throwing into it. I feel like it's a little bit easier, but then once you get to actually making that putt, you do have that water right behind the basket to come into your mind, to creep into your mind and scare you a little bit. It'll be interesting to see the stats on this one, to see if it really changes things up much. I'm not sure it does. In the end, you want to get it as close to the basket as possible. And for a lot of these players right now, they're just throwing shorter layups. Perhaps if you were shorter on your drive and throwing into the green, the putt can be really challenging.
Johnny, are you still on me?
What a beautiful look at the green down there. Man, it's daunting. I mean, look at, you can just, I don't know if you can quite tell, but the angle of where the cameraman, he's standing at the top of the hill, looking straight down there. You're about, it's probably 35, 40 feet above the ground level, which would put you about 30 feet to basket level. Nice little pitch up there by Katrina. And it's also where 2 lakes converge as well. There's a lake just to the left of where Katrina's walking, and then the big lake to the right there. You see a couple of the spectators keeping up, and our group back on the tee. Our featured card here is going to start to get ready to tee, as there's not a lot of chance of them getting all the way down to the green. Now, this hole's been a topic of conversation for years now, as a couple of years ago, Steve Dodge turned this into a par 3 for the men. And I think there was, is it a par 3? Is it a par 4? I think it plays better as a par 4 ultimately. And Paige throwing just a putter up the hill there.
It's a good play. If you do end up just going for that straight shot, you could crest the hill, start heading downhill, and then there is that other lake that you were just mentioning that could come into play if you throw a little bit too much of a pure shot. If you miss all the trees in the way, which can happen. So Hokom's got the advantage here of the sidearm. Let's see how far she can work herself down. Gonna be at the top of the hill. Few trees that come into play. She's in that position if she's gonna go for it or lay up. She's got a good shot at it. I expect her to go for it. Another pure shot. Here's a roll down the hill.
Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. That's still rolling and actually rolling in the right direction, the correct direction, and actually rolling to the right as well. To say it properly.
You can see the hand wave. She didn't impress herself on that one. A little too low.
I can throw this disc around the world in one shot.
Never play disc golf too far into the jungle. There may be cheetahs.
Someone on your card can't recall if they threw a 6 or a 7. It was probably an 8.
See? Stay getting birdies, my friends.
And we're back here with Kristina Draeger. I kind of like the look of that. And she's got just up and over the hill and down into that low area. A little fist pump from the caddy. There you go. Feeling good. That was a nice upshot for her. She's going to give herself an opportunity to potentially save par.
Yeah, it's pretty much all you can do. You got to now just continue to fight your way along. And she didn't end up too bad off of that tee shot. I laughed because she threw her hand like, all right, here we go. But she's working her way down the fairway. It'll be interesting to see where Amanda's shot ended up. I mean, she could be
she
way
was down the
down
money
there
zone.
on the flat,
Yeah.
looking toward the green. So she is way down the fairway. So that'll be fun to see the shot that roll gave her.
Yeah.
Here we are, top of the hill.
Yeah, top of the hill for Paige. Now she left herself pretty far back, and this is a gutsy shot that's going to have to be played by her, especially with, just these couple of trees she has to try to miss, and then all that open space going downhill. It's going to be a putter or mid-range for her. Just standstill. You can see her just doing a standstill shot. She's on the left side. Oh, and she's got it over and onto the green area. She's going to have a birdie look from there. Wow. Yeah.
So
look at that view.
confident.
Yeah.
So confident in that shot. I mean, that shows what kind of player she is. I mean, I've been in this position. I've won this tournament, but that's a scary shot. It's always scary when OB comes into play. Let's see what kind of angles Sarah's going to be choosing on this one.
Yeah, I mean,
she's got a faster disc in her hand.
Yeah, the ability for Paige to be able to do that in standstill, helps with the control overall. She's just standing there. She's very confident and just bam, able to throw that shot. And Sarah just a little bit too far to the left, so she's going to have to go to a knee. And this can bring in all kinds of potential, especially with the sidearm finishing towards the lake. Oh, and she had way too much angle on it. Trying to avoid going into the lake to the right, she threw a very understable disc and got down there in the gully. It'll be interesting or, just sort of lucky to see if she, if she's inbounds or out of bounds down there. There's a few opportunities either way. So because of the way the water is kind of coming in, it's not really a straight creek. It's kind of all over the place.
Meandering.
Yeah.
I think that's what they call it. That was a very tricky shot that Sarah would have to, that Sarah was forcing herself to throw. In the end, you look at that shot and hindsight, laying up probably would have been the best option, but you might feel the pressure already by Paige. There we go. You see where Amanda's shot ended up. She's almost basket level at this point and throwing a nice shot over into the green. Really well played.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between what she just did and what Paige Pierce was able to do, Paige Pierce was throwing what looked to me as like it was a putter. It was hard to tell exactly what it was, but she did it in a standstill. Now, Amanda did a standstill as well, but it was a much faster disc. And she actually really had to use the tree there. She actually hit the tree and stayed in there for a birdie opportunity. So, Paige having that ability to throw a slower disc is just a huge advantage. Now we see this angle. Oh, what a nice shot by Kristina Draeger, just nestling it up there for her par. Beautiful.
That was awesome. Shorter tee shot, crushed that second shot, landed in a really great position. And that makes the shot a little bit easier, just working a hyzer to land in on the green. Wow, that's going to be her highlight hole of the round so far. And we're just 9 holes in, halfway through the course already. We're moving. It's been pretty good so far. And here's Sarah. See how she's marking this.
Yeah, we saw her just pick up the disc. So I think she did get lucky and stay inbounds. And now we see our compadre, the disc golf guy, sneaking in there for a little bonus footage. This is still a very makeable putt for Sarah. She's lining it up as if she's going to go for it.
And she does have green grass in front of her. So if she does jump, it's not going to be a splash.
Yeah, kind of what you expected. Just a little bit nose down, play it safe. She's going to have a tap in par. Not the end of the day, especially on hole 9. Yeah, and here's Paige. Just inside this circle. There's about 25 foot here for this putt, and we'll see. I mean, if this goes in, then it's one of those 9s that's just unprecedented. Oh, and there it goes right into the water. Splash. She is going to be out of bounds there.
Another one for the stats.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Adding those stats. Man, kind of in a way, it's we, from 40,000 feet here in the booth, you kind of saw that coming. Not that she wouldn't have made it, but that's just a big possibility. And what did Melwiki do? She just stepped up and just tapped it up to the bottom of the basket. I mean, she was much closer, but I think seeing her fellow competitor do that, that's going to change your mind a little bit.
Well, if Paige Pierce can't make it, no, right. Hopefully that's not creeping into her mind, but we're seeing how much more difficult this basket position is becoming. I mean, especially seeing competitors play it different ways, going out of bounds. I mean, that all comes into play and creeps into your mind, especially as an up-and-coming player. Smart play by Amanda. And there we go. Drop in par for Kristina Draeger. Very, very nice.
So there we are, 9 holes in the books. Pretty fun little 9, and we're going to head to the back 9, and let's take a look at hole 10.
Hole 10, we're shooting just straight up the gut here. Par 3, 255 feet, plays more like 400. It's extremely elevated. And right here, we're just climbing up the hill. Again, one of those tunnel shots. So really about disc control. These ladies are going to be throwing high-speed drivers, so it's all about working those angles. You don't want to end up on the left-hand side in those trees. And then on the right-hand side, those are full-grown Christmas trees. So they're big, they're bushy, they're wide, they're not easy to throw around. And you don't want to throw from inside those branches. So just landing in the middle of the fairway, I think, is key, but we're going to see players like Paige getting up to the basket on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Those trees on the right are big. They've lined this fairway. They're for a big house, you know, big high ceiling.
Yeah, big mansion Christmas tree.
Yeah. There's some big ones over there. So yeah, avoiding that right side. Yeah, 255 feet. I mean, it plays probably 370. I mean, it's playing 100 feet further just because it is so far uphill. It's severe. And we, you know, back in the day, this was called the castle hole, just the way that they built this big structure that holds the basket, the castle.
And what also makes it so difficult is just how narrow the fairway is. There's not a lot of air to work with. If it was a wide open shot, you'd see these players getting a little bit closer, but because they are kind of restrained in this fairway, it's just going to make it a lot more difficult to get up there.
Sarah pulling it to the left side a bit. She's going to be up there looking at a birdie. There's definitely the possibility of making a putt from that left side if you can find the line. Here's Amanda Melwiki. Now, I would say through 9 holes, Amanda Melwiki has played a very nice 9. Just 2 over. That 1 over is incorrect, but yeah, she's played very, very nicely. And there you go. She's going to have right at the edge of the circle, but it's a lot longer than just 33 feet from there.
And in previous years, we've thrown from the long tee. And so this tee right here would basically be like where the drives would land. So again, another course change up, and I think it's a good one. We'll catch up with these players in the fairway in just a bit.
Well, we don't want to forget about Paige Pierce now.
Oh my gosh. Was
okay.
not used
Let's
to
look at
Paige
this.
being on the bottom of the box.
Look at this shot by Paige Pierce. Almost like just a control shot up the hill for her. Absolutely incredible. Birdie opportunity. We'll take a quick break. See you up in the fairway or at the green.
What do you think flatness and stiffness on this?
Somewhat flat, neutral stiffness. This is a good disc right here.
Purple one. Got it. 2 more.
Danny, this is the sick one.
Dude, I gotta get through all these today.
Cheers to a good day, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's good.
It's a hard day.
That's great.
We're back on the fairway. How embarrassing. Sorry about that, Paige. Not used to you being in the bottom of the box. And here's that elevation coming into play with a big roll. Just 5 feet in front of where she ended up.
Yeah, she hit the castle. And that's what can happen. I mean, it's tough because even if she lays it to the bottom of the castle, which is where she's hit it again, and she's going to lose a few more feet. not quite as bad. But see, that's sort of course knowledge and, just historical knowledge. You always know you don't want to hit that thing because you get a lot of spin reverb off of it. And then, we saw it. They both rolled. Plus, if you're dead up to that castle, it's a tough putt. I mean, it's an over the head, like try to throw it in with a sidearm type look. So the side that Paige Pierce left her drive on, she's going to have a much easier putt just because she's a little bit more even, and the castle lowers right in that area.
To me, I would expect that she was trying to throw over the castle, but just because it's so much elevation, I mean, you really have to put a lot on it. And she wasn't throwing beyond. She wasn't throwing past it. She was kind of laying up to it. So you really need to really put a lot of power behind those throws.
Yeah. Yeah. And a little monkey paw there by Melwiki. She just was trying to just kind of softly get it up there and just pulled it to the right. She's going to leave herself a pretty scary looking putt, actually. And now we see Sarah able to putt over the low part of the castle. She's going to have what pretty much is a normal putt, just a slight uphill elevation. Not too severe here.
Great putt.
Yeah.
Really nice putt. Elevation, a little bit technical. Sarah's getting that stroke back.
Yeah, she's definitely, I mean, for the few misses that we saw early in this round, and just off the top of the basket there. But the few misses we saw, Sarah's just sort of persevered through that. She's having a very nice round to this point, and she's the champion from last year. So she's got a lot of good vibes, a lot of good feelings, in this tournament. So nice job by Sarah to get her birdie there. Now this is where Amanda's put herself, which you would not have expected from, just being about 40 feet away from the basket.
Incredible view right there. Let's get a replay. Zuka replay. Just look at the extension. There was no doubt that was going in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what a great viewpoint from behind the player to see the line of the disc the whole way.
And then Paige Pierce making that hole look easy. Just a nice little, basically straight shot up the hill. Nice tap in for birdie. Nice job there by Paige. And there we are. So we're going to take a quick break. We have a backup on 11. We'll see you here in just a minute.
Many golfers over the years have stepped onto this course. Few have become champions. Almost all of them have fell and failed. Too many to be named. See, for me, it's hard to explain. I'm young, still just a handful of years into this game, this sport. And at this moment in time, not many folks know who I am. Hello, my name is Gage Benson, and welcome to Maple Hill. Maple Hill is a beast. 400-foot shots over water, tunnel fairways with plenty of OB, a gallery of a few hundred people to watch you fail land safely on 18th Island Green. You think you can walk amongst these hills and not get pushed around? Well, think again, buddy. So for those of you who are new around here, good luck. And to the folks who will be returning, welcome back. You all will be witnessing the modern era of disc golf and the start of the Pro Tour. Maple Hill has crushed streams and crowned champions for over a decade. Way before my time. And she isn't going to stop anytime soon.
Pyro. Hey guys, Gary with MVP Discs here, and today we're getting our first look at the Axiom Discs Prism Proton Pyro. The Prism Pyro is the first overstable midrange from Axiom Discs, making its stock debut in Prism Proton plastic. The Pyro has a speed of 5, glide of 4, turn of 0, and a fade of 2.5. The Prism Proton Pyro was designed as Axiom's first overstable midrange, with more glide than the MVP Deflector and a commanding stable finish. The Pyro will be able to handle full power throws, either backhand or forehand styles, while maintaining a stable flight. This can be used to shape unique flight lines and also be handy in windy situations. The Prism Pyro is debuting in a stock triple foil stamp. That, in combination with the Proton core and Prism rim, produces a stunning dual-toned translucent disc. This outer rim provides maximum durability, giving this midrange a long life of stable flights. At speed 5, the Pyro will be useful off the tee and also shine on approach shots. With that reserved glide and a strong fade, the Pyro will be great for placement shots when you want to control your range. But watch your approach angle, as this mid can produce a decent-sized skip on landing. So, if you're looking for a new workhorse overstable midrange, visit your local pro shop today and pick up an Axiom Prism Proton Pyro.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here on hole number 11. I'm joined by Super Caddy, MVP extraordinaire Robin. Robin, what have we been seeing out here so far today?
So far, it's been ice in their veins. Paige is putting really well, throwing great drives. Sarah's hitting her lines. And Amanda, can't count her out. She's out there throwing really good shots as well. Kristine's first time on a lead card. She's doing great.
We're having lots of fun. The weather is gorgeous out here. We're here in the thick of the summer, and there's been plenty of competition. How do you feel like Sarah's doing in terms of her just overall physical composure?
So far, so good. You know, she's come leaps and bounds since last year when it comes to her physical composure, mental game. Something to be very proud of.
All right, as we head into the back, what are your thoughts, ideas, suggestions? What do you got for everyone at home that they need to know?
If the wind picks up, it's going to change everything. It's starting to right now, so we'll see. These last few holes out here is when it really could make or break the rounds.
All right, well, there's still not a cloud in the sky. It's mid to high 70s. We're going to get back to the action.
And I guess we're the action while we wait for the feature card to tee off. A little bit of a backup here, but halfway through the round. It has been exciting. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's the first round of the tournament. There's been big shots. Paige and Sarah are battling right at the top. It's great to see new names on the lead on the feature card today. Fresh faces, we might say, but great round so far.
Yeah, I mean, really, Paige Pierce playing very well. You see the scoreboard there. The top four, not surprising whatsoever. I mean, these players have been playing well for the last couple of months, really. And it's great to see Kristine from Estonia, playing here in the USA. We're seeing a lot of European players sort of step up, and that's one nice thing. Since the World Championships, these players have stayed in the US, continued to play in the big United States tournaments. And it's great to see those names coming up. But look at that. Elaine King in the clubhouse, even par. Incredible.
World champion right now, current Masters world champion. Also 5-time world champion.
Right.
She's never late to rub that in my face. But now she can't rub it in Paige's face. But amazing to see Elaine after so many years. Elaine's name has been around for a long time, one of the world's best players that ever was, and she's sticking it out right now, 5th place right now. This is a great course for Elaine. She's very technical in the way she shoots, great in the woods, but can handle her own in the wide open as well.
Yeah, definitely with some of these shorter baskets, these 250, 280 foot holes. I mean, that really lays out well for Elaine. I think ultimately in the long run, the fact that this is only a 3-round tournament versus a 4-round tournament, we could really see Elaine, potentially be up there. And interestingly enough, I mean, we know, even though with all those accolades we've talked about with Elaine, when she gets in the lead card with these younger players, she gets nervous. I mean, she still gets nervous. even though she prepares better than almost anybody else out there, still to this day. I mean, it's absolutely something that the younger players can look at, just the preparation.
Yeah.
For a woman that's in her 50s, you know, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And
She
so
takes everything so scientifically and breaks things down and knows her limits and knows her game plan. And that's what's been able to allow her to succeed all these years and to continue to play in the open division. And I mean, clearly she's right at the top right now and shooting even par for the round. She's in the clubhouse. So one of the first groups in the clubhouse today.
yeah, teeing off nice and early. She got a whole day ahead of her to relax and get ready for tomorrow's round. And we're back. We're going to be back on the tee here. Hole 11. Our players are back and ready to play. What's the distance on this one, Val?
It's 670 feet. It's a par 4. You can see we're kind of at the top of a little bit of a hill here. And the first shot is a crush to clear these Christmas trees and land into the opening. It's about 400 feet.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure you have the right height on your disc and allowing it to land into that landing zone. But a 400-foot shot is what you need. I was always landing about 390, and I'd end up right at the edge of those Christmas trees, and you're in a horrible position if you are, because it's another drive up ahead of you, another 220, 230 feet to the basket from where your drive is going to land.
Yeah, we know this disc is going way out there. I mean, what a bomb. It's a little bit on the left side there. One of those pine trees might come into play for Paige there. I've always come up to the clubhouse and, you know, see somebody from the course. I'm like, hey, why can't you guys just sell those trees? You know, at one point, us as players, we were looking to buy some of the trees that were out there, so they cut them down. But they're placed there for a reason. And and this is just going to go way off to the left, unfortunately. Yeah, just not getting really any power on that one to turn it over.
And being on a Christmas tree farm, though, the course did change up year after year. Now it's not as active as a Christmas tree farm, but they're really cementing in where these trees are going to stay. So we got another crush from the group, and we're going to catch up with them way down the fairway in just a minute.
We were all on the tee pad hoping to 3 it. The wind was ripping. I mean, and nobody could even make the tunnel. They're throwing in the tunnel. It's going woo, blowing everywhere, and I'm like, oh God, I'm up. I'm like, what can I do? What can I do? And so I just said, I'm gonna take out one of the most overstable drivers in my bag now. And I just ripped it. I just put it out on the wind. And I'm like, this thing's gonna skip hop. Dave Velberg, and this is the Pro Tour.
So we've caught up here with Katrina Allen. This is actually the 12th tee pad here, down just on the right side of the 11th fairway. You can see her running out. It's going to go into those trees on the left side. Ooh, maybe a little bit deep. It's going to be a tough get out for her potentially.
And we have Erica Johnson next on the tee. Another regionally local player. He's played this event many times. And there we go. We can see the wind picking up as it just elevator that disc, but she's going to be in a good position. And we'll take a look on hole 12 in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they were mentioning it at the top of the hill, Terry. You know, they were talking about the wind potentially picking up, and you know, this is about the time that you would expect it to pick up. You know, sort of mid. Let's see, it's almost 8 o'clock here, so it's coming up on 11 o'clock there, and yeah, so it's definitely about that time. It's starting to warm up in the day a little bit. The wind's going to start swirling around. I mean, by the time we get to the league, you know, guys in the afternoon, I mean, the winds should be fully picked up by then. Ooh, that's going to be to the right in the Christmas tree farm just a little bit. But yeah, I really love these two holes. It's we've been playing in the woods, you know, for a while. Then we had a water shot, a couple of tough holes, and now there's just these two holes like out in the wide open. It just totally changes the whole feel of the round.
Right. Not as technical, of course. You've got a lot more air. You got to pull out your distance discs here. But now we're about landing in those spots, picking your landing zone and strategizing how you're going to work your way up the more wide open fairway. This is just these couple holes right here. The drive is just really, the advantage goes to the distance throwers.
Right.
You're getting yourself in a way better position than people that are ending up in the trees. And we caught a few shots from Kristina Draeger struggling in those pine trees. I mean, when you're in the midst of them, it's really hard to throw over them. It's hard to gain distance when you're throwing that high and trying to get around pine trees. So advantage goes to distance throwers out here on these two holes, especially.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And really, I mentioned it way back on hole 1. I mean, sometimes when you're playing these holes, where you land is so key. You know, you could be in an area where, you know, everybody bought up all the trees, but there's just one big tree and you're right behind it, you know, and it's tough. It's very, very tough.
Or it's in your reach back or in your follow through.
Right.
See Paige testing out both of those options. And
wow. I mean, stand still. The energy she put into that shot was just was beautiful, really. I mean, just she really stepped back and just really racked on it there.
yeah, again, a shortened basket than in previous years that we've played. Again, bringing the competitive, the field a little bit more close together, making it a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, and you can just see the players sort of looking around. You know, Val, throughout this morning, we really mentioned the name Steve Dodge quite a bit, and I think everybody at home, if you haven't been paying attention, Steve's been in the news quite a bit here just recently with the eventual sale of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Now, everybody at home might be a little bit wondering what's going on, and then is this a good thing or a bad thing? And really, I think the thing we need to say here in the booth is how thankful we are for Steve Dodge and what he's really been able to do with all of his supporters and all of the volunteers, his crew, his brother, his family, his mom, everybody that's just really supported disc golf over the years. We just got to throw a big shout out to Steve and his family to not only have brought us Maple Hill, but the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And we all in disc golf are thankful for him, and we look forward to what the Disc Golf Pro Tour has in its future.
Absolutely. You got to have that mad scientist that thinks of these ideas that are outside of the box and willing to do things that are different, and willing to put their life on the line to make things better in a sport that they're so passionate about. And there's no doubt that Steve Dodge has done all of those things. And so, yes, thank you to Steve Dodge for giving the world the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And you know it's in good hands with passionate people that want to continue to excel the sport and carry it forward. And Steve saw that out of Jeff Spring as well as Todd Rainwater. And so we're happy to continue to be a part of the Disc Golf Pro Tour through commentary and helping out any way that we can behind the scenes. So it's always a good thing when the sport continues to support live coverage and the professional players. You know, we're fully behind that.
Absolutely. And so we've finally found Amanda's disc, and she was way off to the left there. And it looked like she just had to try to swing a hyzer in towards the basket. Well, it kind of we'll catch up with them here in a minute. As just the way the trees are, it's so hard to get a good view of what's actually going on. And the signal is always tough down in the corner of the property here. We are in rural Massachusetts. There's not always good cell phone coverage out there.
And
but
it must be said, the correct pronunciation is Leicester, as we know from visiting this area many times. It's not Leicester or Leicester, Leicester.
Yeah.
If you want to blend in with the locals, you got to say it right.
Yeah, and the town down at the bottom of the hill is not
Worcester.
Worcester, Worcester, whatever. It's Worcester.
Worcester.
Yeah, it's Worcester.
Of course. You got to talk the talk.
Yep. Love this this area of the country. It's awesome. So we just heard Katrina mention to her competitors that she's taking her within the proper relief, and she has the slopey green. Boy, she almost threw that in, playing that very nicely, and the crowd liking it. And we were just catching the second or third shot from hole 12 as that goes up and over the ridge and then way down into a low area. As I was mentioning before, 12 is an absolute beast of a hole. Probably one of the most difficult on the entire course to par. So we are going to see, here's Sarah Hokom. Now this is going to be for her 3. As this 11th hole is a par 4. Ooh, and just going to the left. It looks like it's stuck pretty close to the basket there.
Now as we get closer, we can really see how this green lays out. There's that rock wall right in front of the basket. A lot of roots, just random rocks near and around the basket. And here's Paige at a steep decline past the basket from her viewpoint. But wow, it's almost a flashback to a couple hole previous when she was kind of a little bit of a death putt and able to kind of make up for that missed putt previously. That was big. That was really big. That was a 3 on this par 4.
Yeah, and for Paige Pierce now, in the last 5 holes, she's birdied 4 of them and missed a birdie putt to get a bogey on the other. So she has not parred in the last 5 holes. She now has 6 birdies and 1 bogey. She's going to be 5 under for this first round, just setting a blistering pace right from the get-go, really just sort of separating herself from the very, very beginning of this tournament. Of course, we have a long ways to go. But Paige looking good in the early going, that's for sure. Here's Kristina. She's had a few tough shots earlier in the hole and unable to get that putt in, but every opportunity here is a learning experience for her. Just this is her first pro tournament ever. So, you know, take it all in. Take it all in is all I could really say.
And even though we haven't seen Amanda Melwiki too often on the video here, she is earning her ranks in Michigan. As we know, Michigan's one of those hotbeds for disc golf, and Amanda has been able to capitalize on a few B and C tier wins, but this is definitely the highest, largest stage that she's been on. So the two of them, I think they're in the boat together, experiencing the same kind of, a little bit of nerves, a little bit of an excitement. And so, yep, like you said, take it all in. We're going to head over to hole 12 and see what the second card was playing. We're on hole 12, par 4, 650 feet. Starts off with a huge drive. As you can see, you got to clear over those pine trees on the right-hand side. And landing in this area is just about perfect. It's going to set you up for a really great second shot as you make your way down this very steep decline. Of course, the trees come into play, so it really tightens in the fairway here. It's just a very difficult shot from landing out in the open. It's just so dramatically downhill to the basket. And so keeping your disc flying nice and straight. And again, about disc choice, throwing something that's very understable so you don't have to throw it as hard. I think that's going to be the play on the second shot, but that's where I think this hole really gets technical in that second half of the hole.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that says 650 feet. I mean, that's just like how, if you were to walk it, it's 650 feet, but it plays so much different than 650 because the tee shot is so far uphill and the second shot is so far downhill.
Right.
It's basically you're about level with it probably at the tee. Yeah. But you have to go all the way up and then back down. And yeah, the tee shot can be tough if you're not in the right spot. You can't see the gap down the hill. And then as you start to play down that hill, if you don't have the right speed and control, boy, it just gets so difficult. In fact, I would be really just sort of blown away if we've seen any birdies on this one by our field. And we'll take a look at that, just on our UDisc app and just quickly scanning through. We have not seen a birdie on this hole at all from any of our competitors today. So that I think that tells you everything that you need to know.
And really, the strokes can just start adding up once you throw your second shot. I mean, it could be very difficult if you find yourself in the woods on either side. It can be very tough to get to the basket.
Yeah, and our UDisc stats telling us this hole playing almost a full stroke over par, 0.96 over par. It's averaging the second most difficult hole. And I'm not sure exactly which one's playing the most difficult at this point, but either way, this is definitely one of those holes that's right up there.
At this point, I'm going to guess it's hole 6.
Yeah, 6 was playing the fourth most difficult. Yeah. I just took a look at 6
because it's a par 3, and when you get a 3 on that hole, that's like a birdie. That's a tough par on hole 6. And here's a big booming shot from Paige Pierce. She's up high right, so she's going to have even more of a decline to the basket, but she's going to be lined up right in that alley heading her way down. So she's a great position from up there.
Yeah, a player like Paige has a massive advantage on this hole just because of how much distance she can get off the tee. I mean, not really almost any of the players can even get to the crest of the hill on this one. So, Paige has got definitely the advantage. Today, playing the most difficult is actually hole 1, which is not really all that surprising as it is such a difficult hole, playing 1.17 over par. Oh, and Sarah just not able to land in the opening. She's going to be off in those pine trees. At that point, it's now a play just to the top of the hill, more of a position shot on the second shot.
see much wind blowing right now, but wow, choosing to up the gut shot.
Yeah, the one thing that I've noticed about Amanda's game is that really almost everything she does is releasing with a hyzer. So she's releasing with deep hyzers and really playing the flight of the disc, which in that case I feel like would maybe work out to sort of play up the gut down kind of the left side of the fairway, turn it over to the right. Oh, and Kristina's got it up high, just on the edge of the fairway. Let's take a short break and we'll meet you up on the next shot. And we're back here again. Thank you if you're watching right now of live first round coverage of the MVP Open at Maple Hill, the 2019 version. I'm Nate Doss, Valarie Jenkins here. We've got a little bit of a searching going on out here on the 12th hole. These holes are tough to cover just because there's sort of a wide array of shots. But so far, what we've seen in this round has been really nothing short of that same spectrum. Paige Pierce just crushing it, and Kristina Draeger just in her first actual event, getting to see what those nerves are like. She's having a tough day, but hopefully she's still enjoying that opportunity. You know, she earned it, won the amateur side, And so she's getting that opportunity, which is really a special thing.
Yeah. And there's something to be said about an amateur champion. I mean, she's gotten that experience of winning a tournament, a little bit of a confidence boost coming into this tournament, but really there's nothing like playing with people that I'm sure she follows the scores on or watches YouTube videos of these people. So a little bit of nerves, but this is an exciting experience for her, and we're having a great time watching this featured card today. Again, she was selected because she was the AM champion. There was a fan vote, which Amanda Melwiki got, as well as being an MVP sponsored player. Sarah Hokom, she's our last year's champion. And Paige Pierce was a runner up last year. So lots of exciting stuff going on, lots of things to talk about with each one of these players.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're making their way up the hill, and we're gonna head to Paige Pierce's drive, which was an absolute crush at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the biggest drives that I've ever seen on this hole, especially.
Wow. Yeah, that says a lot, because I obviously you've seen just a ton of shots here on this. But yeah, I mean, and that's what Paige Pierce does. I mean, she's able to put herself in positions that some of the other players are not able to do. One thing you got to say about Paige Pierce too, not only is she a 5-time world champion, but we've just even seen her in this round really giving Melwiki and Draeger some good, really positive, just criticism and high fives and, hey, great shot. And, and that's just Paige. I mean, that if you've never met Paige Pierce before, she's intense when she gets in game mode. Come Sunday, I guarantee we'll see her there. But other than that, she's able to kind of switch back and forth pretty quick, which is always a nice thing to see.
But she's always the one, no matter how intense it is, she's always the one giving a high five and giving props to a good shot. So great competitor. Yeah, it is fun to see. I mean, it's a small division that the women are playing in still to these days. And so encouraging those players that are up and coming to keep going and encouraging them on all their great shots. So great on Paige for keeping the generations to come encouraged.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a small field. This week, actually, 30 women. And I'll tell you, usually Maple Hill has some of the biggest female divisions, and 30 is a really, really solid showing this week.
Yeah, that's really great to see. And Amanda Melwiki now really getting into the toughest part of the course as she makes her way into the trees. Yeah, even though Paige is way up here at the top of the hill, it could still be a couple of shots to get to the basket.
As I was mentioning back on the tee, we have not seen a birdie on this hole at all. And I think right now, Paige Pierce is potentially the only one that has that opportunity. We see our cameraman sort of moving into position. You can see how severely downhill it is. We cannot see the basket from here. And Paige is sort of in between shots. She's thinking, am I going to throw the turnover, or am I going to try to throw the sidearm? From an air travel standpoint, the backhand is the better route. From a sidearm standpoint, it digs into the ground a little bit more, avoiding that long potential to go long. And she's hoping that's going to sit down. Didn't get much. Let's see if she. Ooh.
There we
We
go.
heard her say parked. So, wow, what a shot by Paige Pierce. She, as soon as she released it, she said, don't go long, because she knew it was on a good line. And again, the way she played it downhill, it seems like she was able to kind of stick it down into that ground just short of the basket and kind of trickle it up.
Yeah. And that was fun to see how that shot is executed. To me, it seems like you just have to ride the hill line the entire way, because a little bit too much air, like you were saying, you could start to fly out and go long, like Paige was expecting that might happen. Even if you hit next to the basket, you can still skip and go long because it's such an elevation change. But this will be exciting to see if we can get a birdie on this.
Yeah,
for Paige.
this second or third shot, depending on where you are, is very similar in the angle that the next hole is also. The next hole plays extremely downhill. And so, ooh,
A little bit too much heat on that one, skipping right next to the basket. So the line was perfect, but flying past and beyond, she's going to putting back toward the basket. But that was nice. I mean, we're still a lot of trees to get through, so she's still relatively happy with that shot. You can see it's even the slope even drifts off to the left, and so that really can pull the discs. Gravity will work, and as it does, pulling the disc off the left. And for backhand thrower, that's your natural flight path. It's fighting that gravity.
yeah, over the years, this basket location came into play about 3-4 years ago now, and over the years, I've just seen so many players go long, and it's just because from the higher hill where Paige Pierce was, it's just really tough to judge that distance. And Melwiki has done that nicely. Actually, going to give herself a really good look at, I believe, saving her par. If we take a look at UDisc, yeah, so she was there after 3 throws. So it'll be interesting to see where she's actually lying right now. But either way, that was a nice shot.
And these two holes are kind of like the standout. They kind of, it's like the black sheep of the course in a way. I mean, everything else is just so wooded, so technical. These holes are just, they add that distance and then get a little technical at the end. Yeah, this hole has gone through some changes. Back when it was in the woods, riding the whole fairway alongside the wooded fairway of hole 11.
Yep.
That was a crazy one. And then up the hill to where Paige's drive landed. That's where the basket used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to play this as a par 3. At one point, it was a par 5, as you were mentioning, where you played in the woods and then came out into the open area. And, you know, I think you mentioned it a little bit before. There's always constant tweaking going on at Maple Hill by Steve and the crew out there.
And that's the benefit of owning the course.
Mhm.
This is a privately owned course. It's on family property. And those are the fun things you get to do.
Yeah, we've seen now really the changes in the last 5 years only be minor. You know, a basket moving here, you know, maybe a little bit of some movement, some new construction like we saw on hole 9 with that new wall and moving the pin closer to the pond. So early on, I was always frustrated sometimes with the changes. You know, you just get to know the course and then bam, all of a sudden there's 2 or 3 new holes. But ultimately, I think it kind of keeps the players guessing a little bit. And at the end of the day, you know, it's just sort of to try to make the course better and to make it more entertaining for our fans at home.
Yeah, you kind of want that redemption if you play a super challenging hole. But out here, a lot of natural out of bounds, something that, you know, we're seeing a lot of artificial, a lot of roped out of bounds on a lot of courses these days. That makes these more wide open courses a little bit more technical, but this one's got all of that and more. Water, trees, open, par 4s. It's got it all.
Yeah, it looked as if Sarah was actually unable to even proceed that far up. It seems as if she hit a tree just about 15 feet ahead of her, and now she's moved into where it's landed. So she's still going to be now putting for bogey at this point.
Wow, she flew past it. She hit right next to the basket, and you can see a little bit of pine needles. It's a little bit drier right there. So with the speed of the disc, she just went flying past. Now trying to make her way back up to the green. Sit. That little log, the little stump right there could have sent her rolling back, but she's next to the basket. A little bit of struggling toward the end of this hole for Sarah.
Yeah, that's going to drop her back to even par, and Paige Pierce taking a birdie. I mean, just a commanding lead at this point. Katrina Allen's playing well, though, too. Katrina Allen is at 3 under. She's just kind of cruising along at this point. Nothing really great, but also nothing really bad. She's got 4 birdies and just 1 bogey. So the 2 players that were battling it out at the World Championships are battling it here at Maple Hill. And look at that. Look at her second shot. Just a tap in. There you go. Paige Pierce with the birdie. Incredible. Look at that run. Hasn't parred in over 6 holes. Now we'll see Sarah tap in. Now they got quite a climb up the hill. So let's take a look at that 13th hole and let's check it out, Val.
Hole 13, par 3, 405 feet. Again, we're hiking up a hill, so now players are throwing back down the hill. Again, pretty dramatic decline to the basket. You got to hit the gap. I mean, it's pretty open, but it's about hitting the gap and hitting the tunnel as you make your way toward the basket green. The wind can pick up here. It could alter your disc choice from what you did in practice. So I think that's something that comes into play while players are stepping up to the tee pad here. Keeping in mind that gravitational pull, it's going to make discs want to just hyzer out really quickly. So players are going to go for that little bit of an understable disc and really work the flight, hoping it carries through that tunnel. But it's a tricky shot, but it's so much fun to pure. I think this is one of the more fun tee shots to throw.
Yeah, so now this is actually the 14th hole that we're seeing our second place competitor, Katrina Allen, now throw. Obviously, we'll see our featured card come to this in just a little bit, but look at how daunting this shot is. She's asking for it to get down, and that's a fine shot. It's inbounds, but that is just a death putt. We've seen in some of the commercials, some of these incredible putts Paul Macbeth made, Barsby made, Wysocki made. I mean, this green is one of the most scary, but yet we've seen some absolutely incredible putts on it and also some disasters as well. And that hanging up for a little bit, but nicely inbounds. No problems there. Probably just a pitch up at that point.
Yeah, that putt from Ricky that we saw, I think it was on hole 2 or 3 earlier in this round. We saw a little commercial break. I mean, unbelievable to even go for that putt. He was 60, 70 feet out with the water right behind it, but that's what Ricky does.
Yeah, he's a great putter. You can see actually, you see the water sort of blowing right towards our players. They're throwing into a direct headwind. And that just makes it just that much more difficult, because if you flip it just a little bit, all of a sudden the wind grabs it, and then that's when the water comes into play there. Just like this, but boy, what a line. Oh, and played beautifully. What a nice shot there. Birdie opportunity. So, yeah, as we were just mentioning, there's the whole group that our featured card had to hike from that basket location all the way up to the top of the hill to where we could get to the tee of 13. That was one of the things I was like, well, we just were down here. Now we're walking back and going all that way. But really, the 13th hole is really, in my opinion, one of the signature holes of the course. It's just this downhill corridor, larger than life pine trees, and when you see somebody park this hole, it's one impressive thing to watch.
Yeah. It's something that every player is striving to do, just to hit that shot. No, right when it releases out of your hand that you hit that line. And one of the more fun shots to throw, as I was saying, but definitely a great one to watch too. And we've got a good viewpoint here from behind the tee. Sarah Hokom's first on the tee.
I think we've, just because of our cameras and everybody trying to get into position, we've already missed Paige throw. So we haven't seen where she landed. One thing for everybody at home to take notice of, look at the wind. The wind is really, really starting to pick up. And so that was Sarah. So we actually missed all other three of the players in the group there. So anyways, we're off and running on 13. We'll take a quick break and be right back. And we are back. This is the view from down at the bottom of the hill. Looking back up, you can see how severe the angle is. You can see the basket just on the left side of the screen there.
Amanda Melwiki is on the left-hand side of this fairway. See lots of trees in the way. I mean, sometimes you can find little windows in here, especially on the left-hand side. Is that the basket we see real small in the distance there? Nice up shot there.
One of the big things that Maple Hill does for most all the competitors, unless you're just having one of those types of days, is it puts you in a position to scramble really a lot. Even if you're playing well, you still have to like kind of scramble and make it work. And you know, we've even seen that from Paige, even just a couple of times in this round, having, you know, to just kind of get it down and nestle it in. But ultimately, if you're going to win this championship, I mean, you're going to have to scramble, make great drives, make big putts. It really, this course just brings all those aspects into play. And so, yeah, we kind of see Paige here trying to just really figure out how she's going to play this. She's thinking about a jump putt. She's going to go to a knee. So this is that scrambling we're talking about. She's right in the middle of the fairway, but no easy shot from here.
Now was really nice. And you can see she's always in between on those putter up shots. And so just getting a little bit more power behind it. She does that jump putt method just so that she's not putting too much power on it, especially with just such a extreme slope toward the basket. She's really trying to dial in that touch of the putter up shot.
Again, a little bit of a search party going on. There's a lot of deep maple leaves and leaves from the previous fall, hanging out down in this area. I've searched down here many times, but it looks as if Sarah's got it found, and she's just now again in that position to scramble. I mean, it's really just a part of the game out at this course.
And if you get far enough, you'll find another pond on this property, and it's a family swimming hole. One of the more clear lakes. There's a little diving board. So if you do play in the afternoon rounds, you'll actually hear people swimming and jumping and doing cannonballs while you're throwing your upshot on this hole, which is pretty funny. But here we go. We got Sarah lining up and looking very tight from our viewpoint.
Yeah, I think she's got just a little kind of a touch hyzer that she's going to have to throw up and around onto the green. The green is sort of right in between a slope that goes off down to kind of the area that Sarah is, just a little bit further up. And then there's a gully just to the right of the basket from her perspective. And so a really decent shot would be in that gully right now. Looks like she's done just that. Hopefully that bridge doesn't come into play too much, but that's a makeable putt from right there for sure. All right, just a nice little up shot there for Kristina.
And here's that gully you were mentioning. It makes for a tough putt here. Lots of elevations. You're gonna so Amanda right here needs to make sure that she's pushing up with that back foot, getting enough power behind it. You can see a cameraman right behind the basket, and it does drop off there. So any putts that go past the basket might have potential to roll.
Just a little bit short. You can see just to the right, kind of right near that bridge, we see Sarah. And then you can actually see Paige Pierce's disc just to the left there. And look at, we're starting to see the wind really pick up. You can start to see the breezes now making their way through the trees, making this just all that much more difficult. Sarah for par.
Nice putt, nice save from being down in the depths. He was able to get so much distance off of that drive, so it really makes throwing a technical shot. She really shortened that up. Here's Paige. Wow, look at that stat right there. 92% fairway hits.
Oh, and it just slides out on that left side. You see she's frustrated, taps in. Boy, it looked like a decent putt, just a little bit low left, maybe too much speed. Actually, just kind of pushed her out there. But boy, yeah, I was just about to line up and say, well, back to getting a par, but she picks up a bogey there. She's gonna lose a stroke to the field, and there we go, hole 13 in the books. Let's take a look at that 14th hole.
So this is the view from the men's tee pad, and I always thanked the spirits that we did not have to play from this one, but we're gonna be flying over water the whole time from the women's tee pad as well, but it's shortened down to 285 feet. It's a par 3. We've got the same green. You can see a guy right there. Either he's contemplating the disc that he just lost, or he's just enjoying the view over the lake. But the pond is on the right-hand side that comes into play. And as you said, the wind is starting to pick up. And so players need to be aware of how that wind is blowing over the lake and how it's going to affect the angle that they release their disc on.
Yeah, I guess the best hole preview we could have saw was our penultimate group playing this just a few minutes ago. We saw really how difficult and daunting just the visual of it is. Of course, we saw the flyby, which has been done by Gatekeeper Media for us. We saw it from the men's tee, which is just a completely different hole. It's 40, 50 feet up the hill, just an elevation, not even just distance. But I like this better ultimately for the overall women's field. And I like this hole just in general. We played it years and years ago. But boy, what a tough shot for somebody like Sarah. Headwind, sidearm, water on the right. This is an extremely difficult and technical shot.
In previous years, she did go for the backhand on this one, just so that she made sure she was on the left-hand side. But choosing her disc very wisely. Beautiful shot from Sarah, busting out the sidearm and showing us all how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost like, choosing if you came to a Y in the road, you're like, oh, this is just nice and flat, and this is like you got to go up and over a mountain. That to me, that's what that sidearm is. I mean, it's going up and over the mountain. She executed that beautifully, handled it very, very nicely. And now we have Paige Pierce, our tournament leader at this point at 5 under par. Big high hyzer. She's going to be off to the left and a little bit long. Most likely that's just a layup there.
There's a lot of angle on that one.
Yeah.
The wind got a hold of it, but brought it inbound, so it's absolutely fine here.
Yeah, playing it mostly, seemingly safe there, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at this point in the tournament. There's no reason to put yourself in too much danger. And Amanda able to slide it up on the left side again, just nice and safe.
And this tee shot here, there's no laying up. You got to just go for it. Every tee shot is over the water.
Yeah. Oh, and Kristina's just going to be on the left, and Spotter's running up to check it out. We will take just a short break, and we will see you guys up on the green.
I can throw this disc around the world in one shot.
Never play disc golf too far into the jungle. There may be cheetahs.
Someone on your card can't recall if they threw a 6 or a 7. It was probably an 8.
See? Stay getting birdies, my friends.
And you're back here on hole 14 as we see Kristina cautiously making her way down to her drive. And as I was saying, there's no layup zone on the shot. You have to throw over the water the whole time, but a shorter throw, it's very hard to land on that little bit of a ridge there. Again, it's about just a little bit wider than the width of a road. So she was not able to land on that, skipping her down into a little bit of a valley.
Yeah, and I would never want to assume anything for any one of our players. Like, of course, they're the ones playing. But this is almost one of those situations where you kind of wish you had gone out of bounds. Go to the drop zone. I mean, this is a very, very difficult position, not only to get to, but just to even try to get out of, So you can see it. There's just a pond down there, like a small little pond. And she's just at this point just going to be trying to pitch out.
Pitching onto that ridge, which is pretty narrow.
And she's just laid it right. She threw it about 15 feet, maybe at the most.
Now this is all about getting it close to the basket, but putting the pressure on to be very accurate, but also thinking about wind, thinking about angle, thinking about the pond.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing now, and that was a nice upshot for her. Still going to be a difficult putt. We're seeing the wind sort of now whip up to maybe 15-mile-an-hour gusts, and that's kind of going to just continue to make this more difficult. This day, this starting day, this first round, just that much more difficult. Kristen Tartar has now made it into the clubhouse. She is the low score in the clubhouse at this point at 1 under par. So we do have a score of 1 under par in the clubhouse at this point. And so that's a nice score. We'll see how Paige Pierce is able to handle these last few holes and if she can get in at or near or below this 5 under score that she's already at. And as we assumed, just a pitch up for Paige right there. So we're going to make that assumption she's going to go ahead and get her par on this one. Katrina Allen is at 3 under par. She's played 15 holes. They're up on the 16th at this point. So she is sort of right there in between that 1 under and 5 under score. There's another layup.
And this course in the FPO layout that we're playing, it's par 61. So there's 7 par 4s. And still a couple of them, 16, 17, 18 par 4s for these players. So finishing off on a very challenging note for the end of the course.
And it's interesting. I mean, yeah, you look at the par, they're par 4s, but really the overall consensus just by score is that the last 2 holes are very, very gettable. There was a few players just down below, Elaine King, Rebecca Cox, Missy Gannon, going birdie to finish. So birdie opportunities, but also with these players finished a little while ago. So more wind, especially on 18, with the island, the rock wall island and all that. Oh, and Sarah just missing it on the front. Boy, that would have been a big boost for her coming down the stretch here, but really not so bad. Could be a lot worse.
And now we're at a point, I feel like it's safe to say that all 4 players, it's impressive to see that they all landed in bounds on this shot. Not bringing the trouble into play, not bringing the water into play, not losing a disc.
Yeah.
Most importantly.
Yeah, it just has to be mentioned how great of a shot that really was for Sarah. And there we go. 14's in the books. Val, let's take a look at that 15th hole.
Back in the woods, hole 15, par 3, 355 feet. And you can see this is as technical as it can get. Straight up the gut is the shot I would choose. Again, using a little bit of an understable disc and really working the flight so you're able to carry it all the way to the basket. This is a fun one. Another shot where you know the tunnel you got to go down, you know the line you got to hit, and when you release it and you hit that line, it's so relieving. But we're kind of crossing a valley. So if you hit any of the early trees, you can bounce off, land in that valley, and then you're in for some trouble. The strokes start adding up. But if you can pure the drive, your money.
Yeah, and it kind of, we've said this a bunch. You hit early, you're in a tough position. You get through, you're going to potentially have a birdie. So there we go. There's our scorecard scoreboard that we were just mentioning. And look at all those evens. Even for Elaine, Rebecca, and Missy. As I mentioned, all three of those players birdieing the last 2 holes.
Yeah,
so finishing on a very, very strong note. And, those are good scores. We see Sarah Hokom at that even par through 14 holes, and then that 1 under par by Kristen.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Kristen stands out clearly from Estonia. The flag different from the rest, but sitting in 3rd place. And yeah, shooting under on a course like this is always a great achievement. And it's great to see her coming out of the gates, shooting hot. We know we've been seeing her name and getting familiar with her face on these lead cards throughout the big events throughout the year. And so it's fun to see a player traveling so far and competing so well at the best events in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw, a Finnish player win the Memorial Championship at the very beginning of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and we're still seeing some international flags on the scoreboards, and we'll see on the men's side if we continue, if that continues to be the case as well. But here you go. The one thing is I can say is for a European player, they've never seen a course like this. That's for sure. This is just so unique. All the big maple trees and just all the different types of terrain. It's incredible where we get to play as disc golfers. Very, very lucky. But yeah, this 15th hole is tough. I mean, it's dead straight pretty much as the crow flies. And there is a gap all the way through, but it's really, really difficult to get that disc to hold that line that whole way. Oh, and Paige has done that. Wow. What a catch. Throw and catch by our cameraman, but what a shot by Paige Pierce. Going to be going to 6 under par.
That is easy drop in for her right there. And then even just if you thought maybe it was going to skip a little bit past, had the log right there to catch her. And there's that early tree trouble that you can get into. She's going to be fighting her way all the way up the fairway. One of those shots you just want to hold your breath so you make it all the way through. But we will have a short drive right here, so we're going to need to stick with the players as we make our way down. We do have Amanda a little bit short as they find her disc in the woods. She's only made her way off the tee about 50 feet. But as we can see, it's still nice in the middle of the fairway. So good footing. She could have a good opportunity to get herself up near the green.
Yeah, and you just see that sort of hyzer. She has that hyzer game. And it can be tough in these woods if you have to release everything with that deep of a hyzer. We're going to go right to Terry, the disc golf guy. Let's get a little insight from Terry on the course.
Welcome back, everyone. As we just saw the tee off on hole 15, Amanda struggling a little bit to keep it clean on this very narrow fairway. Paige not having that problem. Now, it's moving into almost the third hour here of the round. We see some of our players maybe either getting a little mentally or physically fatigued, or just trying to push through as they have a few final holes to go here. A moment ago, I saw actually Steve Dodge. He rolled up in a gator and provided some hot dogs. And right on the top of that list, of course, Paige Pierce jumps at the opportunity. Her and Sarah Hokom walking down hole 14, each with hot dog in hand. So you know that it's just about to that lunch hour, and they're trying to get a little extra energy before they push through for these last few holes. It's been a great battle. We got Paige out in the lead. Let's see how she finishes things out. We'll check in with you guys after the round.
Such a Steve Dodge moment.
It really
right
is.
there.
I mean, it really, I mean, and again, isn't that sort of just prove how much of a home this is? You know, mom's up in the house, take some hot dogs down to them. They're getting tired.
They're
you know?
hungry.
Yeah, they're hungry.
Feed them.
But that's a pretty cute little story there. But I think the big thing I take away just from what Terry's saying is, yeah, we are heading. You know, we played 2 hours and 51 minutes at this point. It's not like we've been playing forever, but there is a lot of hiking, and so there's a little bit of physical fatigue, but the mental fatigue definitely for some of our players has started to kick in. But you can see like Paige Pierce not really having that problem at all.
Yeah, things are coming easy for Paige. And every day is a new challenge on this course. Every hole is a new challenge. And so, you know, as easy as day one could be for Paige, she might find difficulties. And it's just about that mental power, you know, sticking with it and sticking to a game plan. And that's going to that's why she's won 4 Maple Hill Opens. So she's clearly showing that her game plan is strong on the course this year as well.
Yeah, so many times we've seen Paige even be further down in the standings, and then just in a snap, boom, she comes shooting up the scoreboard and puts herself in position every single time. So mentally, she's as strong as any. And Sarah Hokom just the same. We heard her caddy talking about that and how she's really gotten a lot better at her mental game.
And given a good run there, just a little bit short. It was a great view to see how long of a putt that actually was. See Sarah a little bit disappointed in that, as she really worked her drive up to be basket level.
Yeah, ultimately for me, watching Sarah play, I don't think she's not really in all that big of a problem right now. She's had a couple of tough holes, but she's made some birdies. She's had some missed putts, so a lot to really build on as the tournament moves forward. I think she's still doing just fine. She just needs to kind of just stick with it. We know we got a couple. Ooh, beautiful putt there by Amanda. She just kind of needs to stick with it. Couple birdie holes at the end, pick up, you know, a birdie or two on the last few holes here and get into that clubhouse with an under par score. You're off and running.
Possibly a little fatigue setting in there for Christine. Here's Paige's drive. An easy birdie for Paige. Last 2 possibility, I would imagine, as we head into the last 3 holes of par 4.
So let's take a look at this 16th hole, the shoot, if you will.
I will. We're on hole 16, par 4, 530 feet. I think this hole is just so much fun. It's got the drive, which starts off a little bit technical. There's a new basket placement, but we're going to want to land around there. Hopefully your drive creeps to a little bit on the decline of that hill, setting yourself up for this upshot as you make your way through the goalpost trees and to the basket. This is just a fun one. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's a really fun drive because you're elevated up above the basket and there's several tiers that you have to clear. and you're in the trees. So of course, flying through them and weaving through them is the best chance to get up there and give yourself a look at a birdie. But a big drive on this will give you an even better opportunity at that.
Yeah, and just for a little bit of professional correction here on my part, those players I was mentioning birdied the last two holes, they actually birdied 16 and 17 and parred 18. So because this is a par four, it makes it just a little bit more gettable by our players. So the men play this as a par three. They're able to potentially get it down through that chute and get it up towards the basket. But as the ladies play it, it is a par four.
It's tough out here. There's a lot of gettable par fours where it's not easy. It's never easy to get a birdie. But the par threes can be very challenging. So it's a whole give and take of knowing what to call the holes and setting the scores correctly. So as we see in the afternoon, the men actually play from the same tee here, and it's a par three for them.
Yeah, and just looking at UDisc and looking at the statistics of our players that have played this hole today, it is playing as the second easiest hole, playing just slightly under par at 0.27 under par. And, so you kind of look at it from that perspective. If you're not birdieing, you could potentially be losing a stroke to the field. So it's definitely one of those holes that these players want to try to take advantage of. Boy, and it looks like Sarah's taking advantage of that beautifully, just getting it to travel down that middle gap very, very nicely.
And finishing off to the right, she's going to be in a good position. It's bringing her to the lowest part, getting her even with the basket. And the trees are a little bit more spaced out on the right-hand side. So she's in a great spot for her upshot.
And there's that patented flip up from Melwiki. If she can get over there to the right far enough, it could be a nice open look. As the fairway does open up to the right, really the left side is what you want to try to avoid at all costs. And that could be okay. That's sort of middle ground there on this 16th hole. That's everybody off the tee. We'll take a quick break and see you in the fairway. And as we come back live, we just see Kristen just pitching out to that opening, and now she'll have really a pretty good look at trying to get into the green for her third shot. I think at this point for Kristen, she's Kristina, sorry, excuse me. She's just at this point looking to, make some good efforts, make some good throws, and that was a nice one right there. She's gonna have a look for her par. A nice shot by Kristina. There's a look back at that green. Look how beautiful that is. Really, a lot of green grass this year.
And so another throwback to previous years, if you look off to the right, that marshy area, there was a tee back there. And I remember the days where they wanted players to throw up that marshy pond to the basket. Or you can play up through the woods like the players are doing now. But that shot was unbelievable. And Paige Pierce was the only woman to go for it in those days. And that was many years ago. And I think Paige Pierce would probably park it these days. She's elevated her distance game so much. Yeah, that was a shot I could only dream of.
Yeah, and Melwiki was able to get out of the opening there. She's going to have a look at birdie, which is something she has not picked up today. We were just talking about it in the break. I mean, she still just seems very engaged. She's really you can tell she looked forward to this round. She's had a few tough holes, but ultimately I think she's played pretty well for the circumstance. I mean, she has a long way to go, but I think she's played pretty well overall in the circumstance. And now we see where Hokom has ended up on this far right side. And as I said, it's pretty open over here. She has just a couple of trees to beat, and she's probably only about 110, 115 feet from the basket. So really not much challenge at all.
And this backhand's surprising me as I'm seeing a nice open window for a sidearm on the left-hand side. See how this pans out for her.
It panned out just fine for her. Yeah, I think the only thing I can imagine is that the angle for her sidearm just may have been just a little bit, tight. So she took maybe just that easier line. And here we see Paige Pierce sort of at the edge of the fairway. What a beautiful shot. And from here, it's just a pitch up. In fact, actually from here, I could see this being even a little bit of a run for her as it's uphill the whole way. You can really give this a pretty solid run and not worry too much about going past the basket.
Yeah, there it is. A little bit of a run, and that grass is real thick around the basket. So it's going to hit the ground and it's going to stick basically right where it lands. This players gathering up around the basket, and now it's all about putting. Getting those putts in, and really well played hole. Even though Kristina had a little bit of trouble, she's giving herself an opportunity at par here. See if Amanda can capitalize. Just at circle's edge. Wow. I love that putting style she's got, and that absolutely deserves the Zuka replay. It's so simple.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only a few little moves, and it's just right at the basket, full extension. Oh, and just a little on the left-hand side for Kristina.
What I take away from that putt from Amanda was really the reaction afterwards. You could tell how much that meant to her. She ran and grabbed it, and it was just an exciting moment for her. So picking up her first birdie here in this round, that'll move her to 5 over par. And there's Sarah grabbing her birdie. She's going to move to 1 under par, but Paige Pierce is going to move to 7 under par for the round. And Katrina Allen has moved to 4 under par for the round as she did grab her birdie on the 17th. We'll see Kristina just finish out here on the 16th. And let's move on over to the 17th. Let's take a look at the 17th hole, Val.
So we're on hole 17, and this is the view from the men's tee. From the women's tee, we're going to see it off on the right-hand side. See that nice green grassy fairway, a little bit of a dead tree, but players are going to throw straight up the hill, landing in this higher hill shot. It's a 2-shot hole because it's a dog leg directly to the right as they make their way into the woods, slight downhill shot to the basket. We've got an elevated basket and then a drop off behind it. So that's going to make the putting really difficult and put more pressure on the upshot.
Yeah. Perfect explanation. You're right. That the view that we originally saw was from the men's tee. Now we can see where the tee is. We see that the players down at the tee, and if now looking from behind, we see the basket of 16 just off to the right. So the shot is to just get it in that perfect position on top of that hill, that you have sort of a techie shot down into that green. So Paige has played it perfectly. One thing I was noticing on the flyby was that there was a few trees missing from that fairway. And boy, I wish they would have cut those a couple of years ago. Would have helped me out a few times, but no, but yeah. So, but here we are, Sarah Hokom, who's just moved to 1 under par. Again, hasn't been a great round for Sarah, but ultimately, with a good finish, she could be right there, and that's a perfect shot.
And this drive's all about judging that distance. So when we see from behind the tee, you do have that elevation, but you have to land yourself in that opening. So if you land too short, you're going to have a really tight angle. If you land too long, you're going to get hung up in the trees. And she looks like she's going to be right in the opening. I think that'll still be a nice shot. And this is trouble for Kristina. A little tight on the right-hand side. We'll see what she's got in just a minute.
Hey everyone, as you may know, I'm an ambassador for the Next Generation Disc Golf Tour.
Really?
And with being an ambassador, I kind of have some insider knowledge on what's new this year. So first, let me share a quote from one of the tour co-founders, David Felberg. Part of Next Gen's mission is to help bridge our top amateurs into professional ranks. We take that vision another step this year. Another step. First, new location, Austin, Texas.
A pro invitational for amateurs in Texas. Unbelievable.
November 8th through 10th is where the national championship will be held. Second, new format, which is 3 divisions, MA1, FA1, and MM40.
What? 3,000 for first place in Advanced Masters? That's more than what the pros make.
2,500 for the women? That's like 500 pedicures.
And I think the biggest news of all is $50,000 cash payout.
50,000? No, I'm talking 100,000. 50,000 for payout and 50,000 for merchandise.
Cash. They're trying to bridge that gap from amateurs to pro. But if you want to stay amateurs, you can decline the cash and keep your AM status by taking merchandise.
$7K for first place, guys? It's a no-brainer. See you at the Next Gen Championship.
And welcome back to the fairway of 17. Here's our tournament leader, Paige Pierce, asking for it to slow down just a little bit. Oh, and it did it just nicely. Tap and birdie for Paige. She will move to 8 under par.
Yeah, she was in great position, just looking straight up the gut at the basket. But yeah, it's all about judging that distance once again and just even with the basket. With this elevated basket, it really makes this tricky. So you were able to save yourself no matter where you landed in and around the green. You did have that little bit of elevation.
Mm-hmm.
But now the basket's way higher, making any putt that you're going for very risky. So here's the angle for Amanda Melwiki.
I really like this angle. And it looked like she handled that perfectly. That nice little kind of just a little flex, kind of slow flight. Hokom's much higher on the hill. She's going to just have sort of a pitch hyzer down the hill there. So you're just kind of acting it out. She might be so high she has to take a little turnover at it. See which one she decides. Oh no, she's gone with the hyzer. Skipped it down the hill. And that'll be a birdie opportunity for Sarah. While we were at break, we did have Kristina Draeger with her second shot. She put herself in this position right here. And able to get it down close to the basket. So 4 discs within about 12 feet of this pin, it seems. So this group playing this hole very, very nicely. And we'll see if Amanda can get her second birdie in a row, would move her to 4 over par and actually inside the top 10. So I think she's done just fine at this point.
Yeah, this is nice to see. I mean, as long as you get your drive executed on this hole, set yourself up in a pretty good position. But we're back with Amanda farthest out. See if she can keep that confident putting stroke. Just a little scared, not as confident as an extension as we saw on the previous holes. But she drops right next to the basket.
Yeah, she definitely just seemed a little bit hesitant there.
It's a scary putt.
Yeah, and especially with, as you mentioned, that elevated basket, the whole 9 yards, it just makes it that much more difficult. So Draeger with a par, Melwiki with a par, and we will move over to the 18th hole, one of the best finishes in disc golf.
All right, hole 18, 605 feet. It's a par 4. You see the women's tee on the left-hand side there, shooting straight up the gap. This is a hole where they've cut many pine trees through the years, but a couple have remained looking much more wide open. Landing in this spot here is good. If you're not close enough to go for it, you're going to lay up. Otherwise, we might expect to see some players going for the green. As the day wears on, this is the best stadium for disc golf. Players start to fill up those bleacher seats we see on the left-hand side of the screen and, you know, start making bets and start cheering on their friends. I mean, this stadium right here is one of the best finishing holes, like you just said.
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt that this is in the top 5 of finishing holes in disc golf. I mean, it really just is that impressive. Now, this is a tee that we have not seen the ladies play from. This is now they're playing from the blue tee, which we've typically seen, as you mentioned in the preview, they play the tee that's off to the left. So bringing in a little bit more challenge for our players. That's got to get down. Oh, and that's gone over the OB wall. So she'll be lying 3 from there. Boy, yeah, that I actually like this change a little bit more. It's just going to make this 18th hole just that much more difficult, especially when it comes down to Sunday and, you know, champion's going to be crowned, all of those types of things. But, you know, this hole playing 0.6 over par, it's the 5th most difficult hole on the course.
Yeah. And, you know, they might have seen, like, just what I was talking about. If you're not, when we were playing the shorter tee, the drives weren't going that much farther.
Mm-hmm.
So players were still having to lay up. And so
Yeah.
now this kind of, maybe it evens out the field a little bit more. But we'll see if the distance really pays off for those big throwers.
Yeah, so as the family has sold a lot of the pine trees that are in this 18th fairway, it's really cleaned it up quite a bit, but they have brought in that OB. as there's now parking up there. So just a whole bunch of challenges added here on 18. And there's all four. We'll take a quick break. See you in the fairway. So we're back now. We are on the 18th hole, and again, this is live first round coverage of the MVP Open at Maple Hill. We've got Paige Pierce in our featured card, who is the leader of the tournament. She has gone out of bounds. She's at 8 under par. She's gone out of bounds here on 18. So a lot of things can happen at this point because there's a out of bounds potential on the second shot also. So we'll see how Paige is able to handle this. We just have Katrina Allen finishing right ahead of her. Katrina has finished her round officially at 4 under par. So there's our two leaders of the tournament at this point. And we were just talking right before the break and during the whole preview how much we love this 18th hole. And right now it sort of seems a little bit underwhelming because there's not a crowd. There's just nothing here. But of course, still the first round. But come that Sunday round on both the women's and the men's side, there is a group of people, and it is a ton of fun as a player to be playing up this 18th and onto this very, very famous green.
And there we go. As I expected, Sarah throwing an upshot, landing her short of the first rock wall. She'll have a nice little pitch up to the green. And you really have to be in prime position here off of the drive to even think about going for it. But as you were just talking about, that last day with the tension as it builds, as the crowds begin to build, if this is your last shot and you're forced to go for the green, it's a make or break type of shot. And I think that's really cool to have hole 18 finish just like that. Give yourself an opportunity to win a tournament or so much tension that you could lose it.
I was hoping it was going to turn. Didn't.
So we're just hearing them sort of figuring out. Now, knowing Paige Pierce as well as we do, in her mind, she's thinking, okay, I want to get it up on the green. And that's exactly what I was going to say. A sidearm look is going to give her an opportunity. I would sort of advise against that at this point. I think you pitch it up there, you take your bogey, you walk away with a 7 under par. You still got a 3-stroke lead. I mean, this could end up being a double bogey like real quick. But with that said, it could also be a par. And boy, do I hate it when I'm right. That's another OB for Paige. Again, she's now going to be having to pitch onto the green, and double bogey is in her future potentially, maybe even triple bogey at this point. It's not the easiest upshot, especially since she went to the right. She has to kind of play through the trees on the right side.
Yeah, and she had a little bit of a cushion, but you never want to lose strokes like that on the last hole. And so with throwing out of bounds there, because she did not cross over the green, she will be taking it from the last location it was in bounds. Otherwise, if you go for it and you throw over the green but land out of bounds, you take it from the drop zone. So there's two ways that you have to play this if you do land out of bounds. And so that one looked short as well.
Yeah, we've seen some incredible celebrations on this green. Last year, James Conrad taking this tournament down. First big win for James. His reaction after tapping in and just safely getting onto that green was unlike, really any other place, I swear, on the entire tour. There's just something about this green and this fairway and when you see the sap house on the right or on the left, and yeah, there's just something about it for sure. I also think you said it right. I mean, you never want to give up strokes really ever. And I know that this tournament could potentially come down to one stroke here, one stroke there. And of course, we can make the joke, especially because Paige has now thrown 2 discs out of bounds and she's continuing to pad that OB stat. I still just think that she could have just done herself a nice favor by putting it in position, getting it onto the green, walking away with a bogey, and a 3-stroke lead is better than a 2-stroke lead. And so I think that was probably what would have been the prudent play. But at this point, that's in the history books.
You can also take this as an opportunity. I mean, I imagine that Paige is playing, that's her game plan. She's going to throw to that position, whether she went out of bounds or not. Then she's going to go for the green. So early in this tournament, she's sticking to her game plan. She's going for the green, and it just gives her another opportunity to adjust the shot. So as the weekend progresses, you can only imagine that shot's going to get better. She's going to learn from each and every shot she throws. And, if she would have lay up at this time, it wouldn't have given her a chance to throw that under pressure. So, the pressure continues to build, especially on Sunday.
And that's why I prefaced even my statement before with, we know Paige Pierce. We know she's going for this. We know she's going to go for the sidearm. So you're right, though. Hey, aggressive is aggressive. Your game plan is to be aggressive. You stick with it till the very end. And who am I personally to judge? She's won this tournament 4 times. She has 5 world titles. So she's got to do what she's got to do.
You Nate Doss, you won it once.
Yeah.
Had a nice upshot, trying to impress the home crowd there. And great showing from Kristina. We got to give her some props. She held her own. She made some great shots. Gave us something to talk about. Hope she had fun out there today with the cameras following her, and hope to see her again on some more coverage in the future. And there's Paige dropping in her putt there, double bogey. She'll finish at 6 under. And I was checking to see what the course record was, but with a few course changes, I mean, that's the course record right now for the FPO division.
Yeah. Oh, no. And Sarah who would have finished at 2 under par, has just missed a very, very short putt. Oh, man. I mean, still, it's a respectable score, but God, to finish that way, just horrible for Sarah. You can see her just walking away dejected. And there's Melwiki, Amanda Melwiki, doing, I think, a great job for herself in this position. And our last competitor, Kristina Draeger. And there you go, Val. It's in the books. And we here in the booth are excited to have this first round kind of in the books. We'll go ahead and take a look at the scoreboard right now. And as we had our leader in our featured card, Paige Pierce is at 6 under par. Katrina Allen, 4 under. Sarah Hokom, 1 under. Kristen Tartar at 1. And then a whole slew of players at even par. So still a lot can happen, but there's your lead card tomorrow. What a really just a power-packed lead card for tomorrow's round.
All under par, too. So we're setting ourselves up for a really competitive day tomorrow. Let's see how they hold their own. Let's see how they got under par tomorrow. it'll be a fun round to watch.
Yeah, and the one thing that I really am kind of taking away right now, it's just sort of hitting me. I'd be interested to see how you feel about it. You know, Paige Pierce had an incredible round of disc golf. She made huge putts, hole after hole. She went on this incredible run by, having, I think, 6 birdies or 5 birdies in a 6-hole stretch. But then she finishes on that note. And how much does that take away? How easy is it to forget what you did good because of what happened on that 18th hole?
Oh, yeah, you're always remembering that 18th hole. Yeah, regardless of how you shot through the day. So I'm sure she's going into the clubhouse a little mad at what just happened because it's so, that just happened. But at the same time, she's going to look back in the scores and know that, man, if she just improves on, it was literally just one hole. This last hole had one little short putt she missed. But other than that, she played pure golf all day long, big putts, executed her drives. Her drives were on point, and that's, I think, was the highlight of her round. Allowed her to get those opportunities.
Yeah, and even when the round seemed to really kind of drag on and slog on when we were out there at 11 and 12, Paige Pierce is able to execute perfectly and make birdies on holes when players are sort of just getting kind of beaten down, the rest of the field. So that's, again, why we see that Paige Pierce is in the lead at this point. So there we are, first round in the books. We're happy to be here with you and to sort of be along the ride for all of this. Anything else, Val, for you?
No, that was really fun. I'm glad to see new faces, like I said. Great to see Sarah Hokom playing really well and still her name's up in the leaderboard for tomorrow, and we'll see what Paige Pierce can hold on through the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we are. 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, we'll see that lead card of ladies be back on the course. And 3:30 this afternoon Eastern, we're going to see our feature card on the men's side. So we get to see the men traverse this Maple Hill course. I'm Nate Doss. This is Valarie Jenkins. This has been the MVP Open at Maple Hill, first round ladies featured card coverage. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you a little bit later in the day.
As we see, James Conrad pulling out in front of everyone right now. His 7 under through 10. Well, I'm going to say this now. If James Conrad makes this putt, James Conrad has won the tournament. There's not enough trouble for him to find in the last few holes. I feel like he can play it out relatively safely. If he converts on this putt, the MVP Open champion will in fact be James Conrad. That's my call. The door is wide open here. Paul McBeth could potentially pick up 2 strokes on James Conrad if he converts this putt. Oh my. We have a match here, folks. Paul McBeth with the birdie on hole 14.
crowd goes nuts.
Hello everyone and welcome back. Now joining me is Amanda Melwiki. And Amanda, first time of coverage, live or otherwise, I hear.
Yep.
You're an up and coming, amazing MVP recruit and player on the team. How does it feel?
Today was crazy. It was amazing. I was so nervous going into this, like just crazy nervous. And I got out there and I just played my game and just stayed comfortable, stuck to my plan, and yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't tell that you were nervous. You looked very composed out there. You got off to a really good start. You know, a bogey sprinkled in here and there, which you know can pop up pretty quickly at this course.
Yeah.
How do you feel like this course maybe suits your game or your style of play?
Well, this course is my favorite course, so coming here just is like a dream anyway. But I'm really good in woods golf, so I love throwing hyzer shots through the woods, anti shots through the woods. It's like that's my go-to. I'm from Michigan, so that's my go-to.
And I was just going to follow that up. Kalamazoo, Michigan, someplace I'm very familiar with.
Yeah.
Plenty of trees there in Michigan and in the Midwest, so probably a similar style of golf. Now, even maybe the things you don't account for, there was a fan out there asking about, you know, what does a certain disc fly like for you, and you're explaining that during the round. Is that kind of cool to have those experiences?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to share gyro with people and let them know how things fly, and yeah, I love that. I love people coming up to me and asking me questions.
So we're going to see you, I think, in a tie for 11th, last time I looked, somewhere around there, probably with a PDGA number that may be third or fourth card. Game plan tomorrow. Is there anything like in particular that you're going to try and adjust for?
I just want to stay clean, you know, avoid the trees that I got today that got me my bogeys and double bogeys. But yeah, I just want to stick to my plan though. Just keep going like I did today and maybe clean it up a little bit. So.
We saw Steve on the bag, and he had informed us of this being your first time and all.
Yep.
Is that nice having you know, another? I'll call it a comfort mechanism or not? Was there advice or tips or what was?
Oh yeah, he was giving me advice the whole time. But it was definitely very comforting having him there, and I'm really glad he was there for me because. First, I thought I was going out by myself with just me carrying my bag, and so I was real thankful that he was out there with me.
All right, before we close out, anything you want to say to all the fans that tuned in and watched?
Thank you so much for everybody's support. I felt the love out there on the course, and I really appreciate it. I needed it, so thank you so much, and thanks, MVP.
All right, well, this is Amanda. We're going to start to close things out. I want to thank you guys for joining us for the opening round here at the 2019 MVP Open. It's been a lot of fun. We've got gorgeous weather. I think we're going to see more this afternoon. We had Todd, Mo, and Rick on the cameras, Nate and Val back in Oregon at the tap room. Thank you guys so much for calling all the shots. And of course, we got to thank Johnny V for switching the show. We're looking forward to having you guys rejoin us at 3:30. That's Eastern time. We're going to be out here with our feature card on the MPO side. We're only a sixth of the way through the tournament, and we know we got more action to bring to you guys. So from Maple Hill, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We'll see you this afternoon when you step inside the Smash Box.